Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 781 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Do. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, November 6th, 2025, and it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm actually seeing some nice blue sky and a couple of white fluffy clouds. Yesterday turned out to be a quite rainy, gray, and cold day at the Beaver Lodge. Started out well, but took a turn. It rained a lot, actually. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and cubs, how is your mental health today? I'm guessing it might be better than Pierre's. I guess mine's doing okay. I'm already giggling. I am doing well. Kids and cubs, still a little tired. It's been a tougher week, of course. No complaints. All things that are my choice. But the concert on Monday, and then 9:20 curling yesterday, the day before. Sorry, and then yesterday, uh, we're in the final crunch with rehearsals. So we're if we have to stay longer, we have to stay longer. And yesterday's rehearsal, instead of being 6 to 8 as it normally is, was 6 to 9:30 ish, and didn't get back home until past 10. And I tried to go to bed at 10:30, but yesterday, the way that things worked, there was no time in the day um, between the show and the rehearsal to actually had other commitments to actually do a lot to prepare a show. So I had to prepare as much of the show as possible after the curling yesterday. So it was another very short night. So I'm really, really well, not so much really, really sleepy, because the last 2 nights, the sleep that I had was solid. My head hit the pillow and I slept right all the way through, which is very abnormal for me as an insomniac. So I've had better quality sleep the last 2 nights, but mostly because I'm already drop dead tired by the time I get to bed. But today is the day that I will be able to fit in a nap at some point in the afternoon, and hopefully get back to my regular schedule. But again, my spirits are really good. Finally won my second curling game of the season. My first win with my two-person stick team partner. Uh, we're playing in A division this year, so the first three losses in a row were a little frightening. It's like, no, no, we don't want to go down. So we're in the mix now again. So hopefully we can get a couple of extra wins under our belt because, well, A division is tough competition. We can't expect to win as much this year as we did last year. So Ah, but yeah, we did manage to get a win under our belts. Only my second one of the season. On this one, I can't say anything about the shoes because we walk and push the rock with you know a device that we hold in our hands. So I can't blame trying to get used to the new shoes, but we also have new ice. We brought in a new ice maker last year who was working with what he had because we had already, if you were following us last year, we had started the season in September and we had a really uh, uh, abnormal hot spell in September, and it was making it such that there was so much condensation in the arena that it was leaking from the roof and falling back down on the ice, and the ice was unplayable pretty much. So, and then we had a new ice maker come in sometime after that. So he was working with the base layer that was already there, but this year he got to do his own. And oh my God, um, the ice is very, very, very fast this year. So we have quicker ice and I have new shoes. So I'm making two adjustments this year. So I'm getting better on the shoes, uh, but I haven't found it with the stick yet anywhere near as much. My takeout weights are fantastic. My draw weights are non-existent. So, and last year I was starting to get down, so I still have to figure out the ice. So, yes, we're scraping and clawing and scratching, but we're getting by. We're getting by. All right. Ah, and yeah, let's get into it, kids and cubs, because today's show, we're talking about rebukes. There are a lot of people that are getting the uh, not today hands up sign in politics. And, you know, we want to look at a little bit of it. So we're gonna, depending on how much time we have, of course, we're gonna look at some opposition parties' takes on the budget and their rebukes of it. We looked at the Conservatives yesterday with Melissa Lansman interview, and we'll be looking at some statements from other party leaders. Um, as well, we are going to look a little bit more into the Chris D'Entremont thing because yesterday he spoke to the media a little bit, so we'll get a take from him. We'll also take a look at the Yukon election results because up in Yukon, fellow Canadians have rejected their previous Liberal government and have made a switch to the Yukon Party. So there's a change of government there. And if we have time, there's a little news, a little bit, a teeny bit of news from the USA with regard to certain elections that took place recently that may be given someone um, uh, of a more orange persuasion, of a more tangerine temperament, um, um, some fits, and we're not displeased about it at all. So, the Piepenfreud continues here at the Beaver Lodge. But there might be a little bit of Trumpenfreud as well. So, why not get into it, kids and cubs? Just take a look here and see who's with us before we dive in here in the chat. Who has joined us this morning? We have, oh, whoops, let's see. There we go. We have Kid Uncover with the Beaver Dad joke of the day. Why did Beaver get kicked off the curling team? He kept trying to sweep with his tail. Yeah, that'll put a dent in the ice. We have Kit Elaine saying good morning, everyone. Kit Grace saying good morning, all. Kit Hyper T007 saying bon dia, Castorzinos. O clima parece está tentando neve. Uh, good day, little beavers. O clima parece. Something appears to be something. The weather, I'm going to say the weather seems to be Tentando neve. And that I can't tell, but I think I'm okay on the first few words. Kit Hypercheap will let me know. We have Kit Swanky Frankie here saying morning. We have Kit Saucy saying fake beaver tail brooms would be hilarious. Indeed. Oh, my word. We have, let's see, uh, Kit Nona Carol here saying morning. Kit Argosi Acre saying morning all. We have Kit Bucky saying good morning all as well. Then we have Kit playing with 3D and Ill Today, both saying good morning. We have Kit Linda M. Oh, she's in a good mood today because we have a good morning from Kit Linda today. Kit Ill Today saying stay calm and carny on. You betcha. You betcha. Kit Bucky saying, I confess I will be distracted this morning by CBC. It's Heather Hiscox's last show, and the celebration has made me sob regularly since it started. Yes, we had mentioned it on our show when she announced that she was going to retire. Heather Hiscox, for those who don't know, does the early morning show on CBC, the news channel. She's usually up at 2 a.m. in the morning in order to get ready to do her work. And she is a consummate professional, a pure delight, a general ray of sunshine. People who love her a lot. And it is sad to see her career come to an end. Just because she's just so darn pleasant. Everybody likes her. And we would like to keep her for a good long time. But it is a retirement that is very well deserved and very well earned. So, Miss Hiscox, cheers. Thank you for a long career of having committed journalism. We are very grateful. Very, very grateful. And Kid Bucky, you are definitely excused. The Queen will never take umbrage at the fact that someone would want to spend a little time with Heather Hiscox, particularly on her last day. All the love that she's going to get, she's deserved and earned. No doubt about it. All right. We have Kit Kat W saying, good morning, everyone here. We have a bonus beaver joke. What did Beaver say when asked about curling on TV? Finally, a sport that moves slower than Parliament. Ooh, well, except if you have a double or triple takeout, then it still might move faster. I'm just saying, you could get some power behind those pushes. Let's see. Who else do we have in the chat? Is that everyone? No, we have Kit Sean. Hey, nice to see you this morning. I hope you're doing well. I hope that all of yours are doing well too. We have Kit Tom with us as well, saying, good morning, friends. Good morning to you, sir. Glad you are here. And then my feed jumped a little bit. Sean going, hoping everyone is enjoying the falling apart of the CPC and maggots. Kits and cubs, y'all are taking as much delight in this as I am. And, well, your queen approves. You definitely have my blessing, kits and cubs, if you're feeling um, so, connecting with an unfamiliar feeling with happiness at someone who's had it coming for a long time and getting their comeuppance. That's okay. You're allowed to be human. All right. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Just taking a look here. Going through the chat, just making sure I get everyone this morning. I think that's everyone. No, we have Kit Christine with us. Bon matin. Good morning. I not sure if that's a new name for us. I don't really remember it. If you are new to the Beaver Lodge, welcome. Pull up a log. Stay a while. Make yourself comfortable. We hope that you find what you're looking for here. We have a great DAMFAM for you to interact with, and hopefully we'll have some fun as well. There we go. Who else do we have here? Kit Nona as well. Hi. Nice to see you. Don't, please. Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that you've been really sick. I am sending you tons of healing energy and definitely hoping that you are on the upswing. Lots of love to you, Nona. Lots of love to you. Still going through the chat here. Nona telling us that the UK is putting out their budget tomorrow. Not looking good for the working class, but great for the wealthy. We'll see here. We'll see. Kid Hyperty says, my Portuguese isn't great either, but I said the weather looks like it is trying to snow. Oh, neve, snow. Yes, that would make sense. Neige, neve. Got it. Okay. Uh, Kid Argosy Acres saying here that Heather Hiscock's father passed a few weeks ago, too. Oh, and definitely our sympathies to the entire family. That's always a tough experience to go through. Kit Wishful is with us here. Good morning to you. And Miss is here. Good morning to you, and good morning to the entire family. And Mateo is beside her. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Come give me a big hug. Oh, I hope you're feeling better. Oh, you've had some tough, a little bit of a tough go of it since your birthday, I hear. So, but I hope things are looking up and that you're back to your usual schedule of learning lots at school, playing lots at home, having lots of fun, being nice to your sisters, and taking good care of your mama. And giving lots of big hugs to your dad. Hmm, Dad's a good guy. And being nice to the kitties. You got to be nice to the kitties, okay? Gentle touches. All right. Ah, I love you, my friend. I love you, my friend. Okay, kids and cubs, let's get into the show. A kitten miss says he's good, but he's a little grumpy. Oh, my friend, put a little sunshine on your face. uh, don't worry. I know what it's like to be grumpy, Mateo. Sometimes you just gotta be. You gotta let it out. But I hope you're not grumpy for too long, and then you can get back to having lots of fun and learning lots. It's very important. All right. Let's see. All right. Um, since we're talking about rebukes, uh, let's talk about the budget. Opposition parties came out on budget day to deliver their statements. As we know, the Conservatives and the Bloc had pretty much set the stage for saying nope, nope, 1,000 times, nope, a million times, nope, 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 by making demands of the budget that they knew before making them there was little to no chance at all were going to happen. So, in the case of the Conservatives, among many other things, was don't implement your budget, implement ours as well. And I'm like, girl, have you seen the costing you presented during the election? No, I think we'll take a pass on that. Thank you for your suggestion, but like you with women, we're going to go our own way. Okay, good. Um, then, of course, their other demand was that the deficit, and this was a surprising one for the Conservatives in the sense that they keep on saying, "Oh, these terrible, terrible Trudeau deficits," and then they were saying, "Well, let's have a deficit that's not larger than the last one that Trudeau left us, the one that was so devastating and caused all this inflationary spending, allegedly, that raised the price of food, allegedly, that was all supposed to be fixed with the removal of the consumer carbon pricing, allegedly." And well, none of that was true. Right, because as all economists that are worth their salt have let us know, that the carbon pricing added about 0.5 to 0.7% to the cost of food. Yeah. So, um, Mm, I don't think it's a particularly good idea when you've shown in the election campaign that you can't actually produce a costing that would last 5 minutes without being laughed out of the country, that your next move should be, hey, let us control the finances of the nation and please impose our budget instead. That's just not a credible or serious offer in any way, shape, or form. It's like you go back to economic school, learn a few things, and then, maybe wait a year and then show us you've learned something before asking other people to take your work and implement it instead. And again, in particular, when your counterpart has a PhD in the subject matter and is a widely respected global name in that particular field, right? You might want to practice a little humility and not purport to be a better economist than the actual economist. So, yeah, we knew that was going nowhere with the Conservatives. With the Bloc Québécois, they also had a bunch of series of initiatives. They had 18 specific asks, six of which they deemed were going to be non negotiable. Um, and on that front, uh, the Bloc, in a way, I shouldn't even say in a way, the Bloc actually did. The difference between the Bloc and the Conservatives' opposition, pre-budget opposition on the budget, was that the Conservatives, by saying that they would agree, saying that they were okay with $42 billion deficits, because that was the implication, um, basically were swallowing themselves whole on everything they said during the Trudeau area with regard to deficits, even though they're using the same line with deficits because they expected this one to be more. Right? That was a little weird. But when you turn around and you say, well, our main condition is that the budget doesn't spend more than $42 billion when you already know that there's a $9 billion commitment for defense and a $13 billion commitment for the Building Canada Homes Fund. Why are you wasting our time? So it's another dip into the laziness pool. They're not actually going to do the work of coming up with serious demands that can actually make life better because they put this poison pill type thing that makes it such that no matter what the government does, there's no way that they can accept. And the thing that the Conservatives, of course, are not doing is presenting an alternative budget as a communications tool, what they would have done instead, so that we can have a side by side comparison. And they are definitely not telling us, well, if we had to keep it at 42, and I'm assuming the Conservatives would definitely not be rejecting boosting our NATO spending, given how badly they seem to want Trump's approval. So, where would the Conservatives cut? How would the Conservatives manage to keep that deficit at 42 billion or under for the coming year while having all that defense spending and with all their complaining about us being too reliant on the US as a result of 10 years of bad liberal policy, even though it started way, 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 way before that? Um, what would you do? How would you diversify our economy while not spending more and also boosting military spending? What would you have to take out then? It's not a serious exercise, right? We're in a situation where the roof of our house has a leak, and maybe there's a problem with the foundation as well. We're going to have to spend the money. We have to spend the money. That is not negotiable. Or else we just allow more damage that will just cost a whole lot more later to happen. Sometimes you got to take out a loan, right? Some years you got to spend more money than you make. You just have to. All right. And this is the weird part is that the Conservative keeps on labeling themselves as the party of economics and business and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you're not even starting with the basic principle that if your house has a leak, that it's okay to take on debt so that it doesn't rain for a full year in your house, while you're hoping you'll have more money the following year. 'Cause I don't suspect the tension from Trump trying to screw us over is going to stop suddenly. We're going to be having to make more adjustments as he throws more things at us, right? Based on everything that's happened to date, you would have to be out of your mind to not foresee that Trump is going to be throwing more things our way. Right? So it's a lazy exercise. Once again, just phoning it in, not taking the job seriously. On the Bloc Québécois side, even though they did the same thing as the Conservatives, right? Loaded it up with poison pills that there's absolutely no way that the government could support. They had requests. They actually did the work of coming up with, I don't know if you could say it's a serious proposal on its whole, but actual elements that could have been addressed, or some of them could have been addressed. So, the Bloc Québécois, and the reason I'm going to be talking more about the Bloc Québécois than showing it is because their press uh, thing was almost entirely in French, I think, except for one question. And I didn't want to do simultaneous translation for all of it, so I just did a synopsis here. Yves-François Blanchet sounded a lot like Pierre Poilievre when he came up to make his initial statement. So all the things that Pierre is saying, oh, it's been so many months with Mark Carney and we still don't have a deal, and na, all that sort of baseline negative uh, discourse. It's the exact same thing between Yves-François Blanchet and Pierre Poilievre. And this has been an ongoing thing, right? Even during the debates, if you remember, during the election, Yves-François Blanchet has this quality to the manner that he speaks every now and then that is, we say in French, fanda or chia. That's uh, a little caustic and comes from a little place of pomposity. Yves-François Blanchet has a bit of a professorial tone, often, particularly in French, but a admonishing professorial tone and dismissive. Like, this is not serious. You can't do it, right? Like that, which can be fun and entertaining to watch, but can get on your nerves too, depending on the subject. So during the debates, there was a lot of, well, Mark Carney keeps on saying that he's this expert thing, but we haven't seen anything yet, right? Type thing, right? And Mark Carney, given that he doesn't speak French all that much, doesn't really know how it works in Quebec. I will tell him how things will be happening in Quebec, type thing, right? Um, so that can get a little annoying here. So in that whole sort of opening presentation sounded very much like Pierre Poilievre. They both have they both have a similar disdain, outward disdain for Mark Carney. It's just that Poilievre's is way sharper, and Pierre Poilievre has that layer of anti charisma and just nasty all the time, and negative, and you know performative outrage. The Bloc Québécois leader doesn't have that. And the Bloc Québécois leader is not afraid to do the work to find actually legitimate points. Like, again, all through, you have to remember with the Bloc Québécois, the glasses that we're putting on, the lenses that we're looking through, right, is a purely autonomist, sovereigntist, maybe even separatist lens, right, where Canada is the oppressor, constantly trying to infiltrate into areas of Quebec's jurisdiction, and Quebec keeps on having to push. That's always the push away. That's always the lens. But within that lens, what Mr. Blanchet is saying is coherent. And plus, Mr. Blanchet, being with the Bloc, doesn't have to really care about much of the rest of Canada, right? The impacts of his requests. So when he was asked if Bloc MPs had been courted to cross the floor by the Liberals, given what happened to the Conservatives. There was some giggling all around from him and the two people that he had the two MPs that he had standing behind him, saying that there is as much distance between the Liberals and the Bloc Québécois as there is between Canada and New Zealand, geographically speaking, and that he is extremely confident that all 22 Bloc MPs will be voting against the budget. And he had this one of the things about Yves-François Blanchet is that he is very quotable. And he basically said in French, they drew up a conservative budget to attract the conservatives, but they did not draw up a Quebec budget. That's some very good framing for what it is that he is trying to do. I have to give him points for that. I don't necessarily agree with the statement that he did not draw a Quebec budget, but that's a very clever framing to put on it. Monsieur Blanchet says that this is a budget that could have been very easily written by Stephen Harper. He might have a point there, or at least had a hand in. Some of the demands that the Bloc Québécois had that were non-negotiable. One was increased payments for seniors under Trudeau, Prime Minister Trudeau, former Prime Minister Trudeau. Payments, OAS, I think, payments for seniors 74 and older were increased, but they were not increased for Canadians 65 to 74. The rationale for that was the older you get, the more of your retirement savings you may have depleted, and the more health needs you may have. So therefore, you're more in need of the money. So they targeted it to super seniors, if you would say, rather than all seniors. This has the Bloc Québécois incensed. François Blanchet frames it as a form of discrimination. The Liberals would form it as needs-based. So you have a philosophical, politically philosophical difference here. But Blanchet wants that, and I believe he also wanted a certain percentage boost to the guaranteed income supplement, in addition to the old age supplement. So that was going to cost billions and billions and billions of dollars. That would have been a permanent increase annually in the budget, a structural increase in the budget. And it doesn't really do much in this particular era. There's a group out there called Generation Squeeze that have put something out before the budget and after the budget, and I'm hoping to get into that in some later shows because there was some very, very, very good commentary there, stating that probably one of the worst expenses that we could do at this particular time was to put more money to top up those types of benefits for seniors, because there's such a crunch with today's youth, and that we need stuff for them specifically, and that of all the groups economically, and this does not discount the fact that there are lots of seniors that do need extra help, but the group in Canada that is most closely to having a guaranteed basic income are indeed seniors. So it's not that there isn't a need with seniors, but if you had to do triage and put it on a list of priorities, seniors overall as a group, statistically speaking, are not the group that have the greatest need for financial assistance at this particular moment. There was also the Bloc Québécois wanted a much higher increase in health transfers, because the cost of health, of course, is going up more than just the cost of inflation in every province, and whatever increases to healthcare transfers, if there are increases to keep up with inflation or that type of stuff, are not meeting the increases in the cost of the system, and therefore that means provinces need to dig more into their discretionary funds in order to cover it. And I think the leader from the Bloc Québécois would like the federal government to be covering the entirety of the increases in costs of the system, and that was definitely not going to happen, because that would add multiple billions more. And the Bloc Québécois were still, like the Conservatives, putting it in the perspective that the deficit number needed to be lower. So again, where would you have added all this additional spending that the Bloc Québécois is requesting while keeping the deficit at a level that was way below 73 or 78? Again, that probably would have been mathematically very difficult. And Luck, of course, since it never intends to form government, well, they don't necessarily have to present an alternative budget now, do they? So they can just ask for the moon and stars in this case. Um, There was $115 billion in infrastructure spending uh, discussed in the budget, but of that, of course, not all of it is new money. And the Bloc Québécois leader claims that only $9 billion of that is new money committed for the next 5 years, and says that multiple times that $9 billion amount would be needed for Quebec alone, and therefore it is not a serious offer. Uh, and he also mentioned that the scant details of how the money would be spent in terms of infrastructure was causing much consternation with regard to interference in areas of provincial jurisdiction. The Bloc Québécois also asked for a loan guarantee program to facilitate ease of access for a down payment for younger Canadians if they were going to purchase a household. And Blanchet claims that the housing financing program does not guarantee that the portion of the dollars that would be attributed for housing projects in Quebec would be dished out to the government of Quebec without conditions, as has become the tradition over the past while when it comes to Quebec. They get the money for the federal programs, but they always have the option to opt out of them and create their own sort of version without any federal conditions, and that does not seem to be the case so far for the housing money. And then he mentions, and on this one, he does have a point. The $4 billion that we took out of our coffers based on a promise from Mark Carney during the last election to give a few additional carbon rebates to Canadians. That was a way to uh, it was an additional affordability measure that was included in the budget to put more money in people's pockets. But the Bloc Québécois claim here is that these were carbon rebates for carbon taxes that were not incurred because the regulatory fee had been suspended. So basically, it was an income redistribution program masking as carbon rebate. And since the province of Quebec has a cap and trade system, therefore had a federal backstop, therefore was not, nobody in Quebec was getting carbon rebates. They didn't get this rebate either. But since it came from the overall general tax pool, Blanchet is saying, well, Quebecers contributed to that overall general tax pool to the tune of about $800 million, but they didn't get to see any benefit because we happened to have adopted a system that works better. Why are we being penalized for that? He kind of has a point on that last one. So those were the main objections from the Bloc Québécois. So as you can see, there are some actually concrete proposals for areas of spending, as opposed to the Conservatives, which was much more uh, amorphous as an overall criticism. So one party is doing the work. The Bloc Québécois is opposing and proposing here in a manner that is serious. There are certain things in there that the federal government, if it had wanted to, could have plucked out and put into the budget and say, okay, we're not going to do all of them, but we'll do this one. Right? And they did so for some of the 18 from the bloc, but none of the big six, of course. The Bloc Québécois leader also claims that when it comes to climate change, that the Carney government has only added 4 million with an M dollars of new money going towards climate change. Now, the federal government is representing it as different, but the Bloc Québécois leader points out that all other new spending or spending declared new in the area of climate change is going towards exploitation of critical minerals. So, um, you know, uh, we need to get these minerals that allow us to do things like EVs and, other types of uh, green energy type products. Uh, and those will have a climate impact. But the actual mining of those critical minerals, how environmental will that be? So, gosh, asking that question, and is that really money that we are spending on the critical mining part? Is that money we can actually say that we're spending to fight climate change? Or should we start counting that money once those mines have been developed and we actually take the critical minerals that and the rare earths that have been mined and actually put them into a product that would generate emission reductions? Again, politically philosophical difference, but one you can have a mindful debate on, right? And then all other new spending are going to industries. Mr. Blanchet says that we are being told, always the skeptic, are of an environmental nature. He also has a problem with, because the Bloc Québécois likes to poke a stick in the eye of Alberta with regard to oil and gas because the province of Quebec is almost all hydroelectric at the moment, and therefore one of the greenest sources of energy in the country. So it likes to poke a stick in the eye of Alberta a lot, and mentions that the tax credits that have made it such that over a period of 10 years would give about $8 billion per year to oil and gas companies have been extended until 2040. And then the Bloc Québécois leader, in one of his more quotable moments of his press availability, basically said, "There is nobody on the liberal benches who's under the illusion that we're taking climate change seriously. It does not exist. It's going to be extremely costly. We are going shopping for catastrophes and we're going to have to pay for them. And this government is telling itself climate change does not exist. We're not putting any money behind that." So, um, that's the Bloc Québécois' take on spending. Uh, the actual concrete measures, like for example, the planting trees, the Canada Greener Homes program that I personally benefited from, and that had been was so popular that was oversubscribed. That's not being renewed. I didn't. This was not mentioned, but I have not heard or seen anything about bringing back an incentive program for purchasing EVs in this budget. You thought I would have sincerely thought there would have been one, since we were talking about scrapping the mandates. Um, and I really thought that a way to go would have been to have a very generous incentive program in order to be able to get people asking for EVs again, and maybe helping our auto industry there if we have to make some shifts in manufacturing, that we're shifting to manufacture more EVs. Um, and giving Canadians the means to buy them by providing those incentives. That does not seem to have been there as well. So uh, it's interesting here that in a budget where we are presenting the difference between operational costs and capital costs, François Blanchet on matters environmental climate change is dividing the spending in that envelope between new money for projects that can actually yield a result in reducing carbon, because it is low hanging fruit. Elizabeth May makes this comment as well, because we're definitely not done picking the low hanging fruit. So we can definitely put some more effort into that, uh, as opposed. Um, uh, I forgot where I was finishing because I went on the aside with Elizabeth May and lost my train of thought there. uh, but yeah, uh, that sort of versus, oh, so yeah, the division between that type of money and then money going to sort of major projects that have allegedly a climate element embedded within them, either, for example, mining a product that can be used to make greener projects or to push green technology further. And, you know, and for example, other industries, like for example, the copper mines that are supposed to be zero emission, and the 2 billion for Darlington, because that was another one of his comments. No, sorry, that was Miss May's comment. I'm mixing them both on this one, but the comments about the nuclear reactors as well, right? Um, that is money we are told that will allegedly, be green because nuclear energy is more green, but the that's the Bloc Québécois leaders. Like, it's like we are told that these are greener initiatives, but given that they haven't happened, haven't demonstrated themselves, and all that kind of stuff, he's not counting it in that column. So it was a serious, more serious exercise from the Bloc Québécois than it was from the Conservatives. Absolutely, absolutely on this one. This one was with no doubt at all. But yeah, that was the overall. Nothing out of the extraordinary for the Bloc Québécois leader on this. These are all positions we knew. We could have probably predicted this going in. The Bloc Québécois leader was just, pretty basically, well, we had 6 requests, none of them were met. So clearly, you know where we stand on this budget. It's not a mystery here. Okay. Moving on to the Green Party, Elizabeth May, she had a couple of things that to say that were interesting. Um, the Green Party's typical position is they will not vote for a budget that does not eliminate the fossil fuel subsidies. Pardon me, kids and cubs, I have to cough. Thank you so much for your indulgence there. I'll apply a little bit of beaver moistener. There we go. Let's see here. So yeah, environmentally, they don't vote for budgets if those subsidies to oil and gas are going to continue. And as Mr. Blanchet just mentioned, they're going to be extended until 2040. So that would just give you the impression that, well, it's just going to be a straight no. Elizabeth May does not say a straight, full out no just yet. So I'm going to present 2 clips very quickly, which are part of her initial statement. I have to present it in 2 because her comments were separated by other comments in French. Miss May likes to go back and forth on it rather than doing a chunk in one and a chunk in the other, like Pierre often does. So we're going to start with her initial assessment before she started taking some questions from media with regard to that. And then we will look more at the question and answer period as well, because there was one moment in there. Elizabeth May is another one of these federal leaders who can be rather quotable. She has a turn of phrase every now and then that is quite alluring and that catches your attention. So, kids and cubs, here we go with Elizabeth May. First initial comments with regard to the budget. A short clip. I think if I'm able to, I will just go immediately into the second, and then we'll get back into things.
We identified as we read it, this budget is not about even sacrifices across our country. They're generational sacrifices. My grandchildren lose. This government has decided not even to mention our legally binding Paris targets and has jettisoned most climate programs, including the oil and gas cap. The climate competitiveness strategy, so-called, will create large winners in the corporate sector and create more subsidies for fossil fuels. We cut assistance to the poorest of the poor in the developing world. We do have some good things which we identify in our press release, but let me turn it over to Mike for his comments.
So that's the first bit. For those who are listening at home, Mike Morris, the former MP for Guelph for the Green Party, who lost his seat by a very, very tiny margin, and who has announced that when the next election comes, that he's staying in the game, that he will run for it again. A great constituency MP, and in my estimation, someone who does deserve to be returned to Parliament at the earliest opportunity. Then Elizabeth May comes back and finishes off her initial assessment.
We certainly, I want to make it clear that we, and I, am specifically asking the Prime Minister to think about the fact that he's not the CEO of a company called Canada. He's the Prime Minister of this country with a minority government. Now is the time to reach out to those of us in opposition parties who could vote for the budget if in negotiations over the next few days we see changes. That's a possibility. It's a real possibility. The vote will be very tight. When we crunch the numbers, it's too close for comfort. And this is the time for a Prime Minister, and I really ask him personally to meet, to sit down and talk and find the changes that could be made to where we could cast our one vote in favor of the budget. But that moment is not now. Ce n'est pas possible pour se bouger actuellement.
So when she says that moment is not now, not that it's not the moment to have that talk, but that it's not the moment that the Greens could support this budget, right? But she's not saying no. She's willing to have some discussions. Now, I don't know if she's saying, now, I don't know if behind that she's hoping that the discussions are, or, you need to remove those subsidies, which is not going to happen. So what's the point in the discussion? But if she's willing to be flexible on that initial foundational thing that the Greens will never, ever, ever support a budget that doesn't remove those subsidies, there might be a reason for Prime Minister Carney to pick up the phone and give her a call to see if there's a way that he can get that one vote and that he would be one away. Now, of course, that presupposes that there are that Mark Carney is not aware of things that maybe we may not be aware of yet. Like, for example, Chris Tremont wanting to cross the floor, which seems to have caught the Conservatives by surprise. It seems. There were some rumblings that I've been reading in the press that there were some efforts to try and find out why it was that he was unhappy and maybe fix that. So there was some awareness that he wasn't the happiest camper within the caucus. But that he would decide on the day of the budget to up and leave, probably, or that he was that close to leaving, seems to have caught the party by surprise. So, as I mentioned yesterday, given that there will be no votes this week on the budget, and next week is a constituency week, and then they'll be coming back for the first votes, it creates a window over the next few days where you could have one or two more who decide to leave, particularly when they see how the party has reacted to Dr. Mott leaving. They might be saying, well, if that's how they're going to speak about me when I go, what's the point in me really staying? So we'll see. We'll see there. But if the Prime Minister let it stand that that there was a possibility that there were indeed more. Yesterday seemed to suggest that there possibly could be more. And also, the number we had been hearing up until to date was up to 5 around the time that Podiev made those terrible and ill-advised comments about the RCMP. There was talk out there that there were up to 5 MPs who were expressing concerns. Yesterday was the first time I heard a number that went up to 7. Just saying, there might be a little more grumbling and discontent among the Conservative ranks than we have been led to believe. Ooh. So if Mark Carney happens to know something else, knows that he does have the 2 other votes or 2 that are going to cross over or anything of the sort, then it's probably not as imperative for him to reach out to Miss May. But if he actually does need that vote, there could be some terrain d'entente there. So you never know. All right. The next thing Miss May had to say here, she was basically asked point blank how it is that she would vote on the budget. And I believe here at this time, she might have added a little more to her invitation to the Prime Minister here. So let's take a look.
On the budget.
Absolutely. There's no way that we can, as Greens, vote yes on this budget. But I want to emphasize there are several days in which this budget can be negotiated and amended before it goes to a vote. And that's something that doesn't get discussed much. I am surprised that Mr. Carney has not reached out, or that more of his ministers haven't reached out to say, what would it take to get Greens to vote for this budget? In the same way I hear from friends in the New Democratic Party, they haven't felt that there's been an effort to get us on side early on. So we are now in a position where I think every vote's going to matter, every vote's going to count, and I would invite the Prime Minister, and I've sent this message through the officials who were with us in the lockup, please let them know I'd like to talk, because there's some things that could be done that would make it possible for us to vote for this budget.
So there you go. So like she says, it might be an opportunity that is worth exploring. Might be. She then goes on in another answer to talk about some of the decisions that have been made. As you heard there were cuts made to foreign aid. But there's also a little bit there about her skepticism about the nuclear project at Darlington as a major project because of it is newer technology and therefore not necessarily, well, not as proven, because of course what we're doing in Darlington would be a global first. So let's listen to what she has to say about that, raising some points that we definitely need to keep in mind as that goes forward.
I was also shocked to see cuts in one of the things I stressed to the Prime Minister was with Donald Trump withdrawing from the world and the U.S. withdrawing and killing the U.S.A. ID program. In a time when the world is in turmoil, I believe the world needs more Canada. I think we should step up and do more in peacekeeping and more in helping for world health issues where the U.S. government's decision-making is going to cause an increase in HIV/AIDS, an increase in polio, an increase in deaths from malaria. We could stand up and start filling that space, and instead we're retreating. We're putting less money into overseas development assistance and more money into our military, which we support up to a point. But this is the question of why would we throw, in the same week the Prime Minister said we're going to have to make sacrifices, they announced a $2 billion gift to the Darlington project, which they've already put on the fast-track C5 list. You need to know that that project, while owned by OPG, the companies that will benefit are General Electric and Hitachi and Kiewit Engineering from the United States and some Canadian engineering, of course, our old friends Atkins Realis, formerly known as SNC-Lavalin, and Aiken. But this is for a project that may never generate a single kilowatt of electricity because it's an experimental prototype that we don't have a single operating small modular reactor anywhere in any democracy in the world generating electricity. And yet to casually throw $2 billion to it when they've just said Canadians will have to sacrifice? Why do young Canadians have to sacrifice, and why does the next generation have to bear the brunt of our government today deciding in 2025 that our oil and gas cap is off, that we're not even going to mention that we're legally bound under the Paris Agreement to reduce emissions? It's not even mentioned in this budget.
What do you think of the Liberals actively courting Conservatives to cross the aisle?
Well, they don't have enough votes.
Sorry, just to jump on that, considering that they're doing that to cross the aisle and everything you've described about their approach to negotiations, I'll put in air quotes, do you have any confidence that Prime Minister Carney and the Liberals have any interest in negotiating with any of the other parties if they don't have the votes, that they're willing to take it or leave it and sort of walk away if you
Well,
guys...
I think put that question to Prime Minister Carney and to Finance Minister Champagne. we try to be constructive as Greens. We don't want to take partisan shots. That's why you can tell how I'm speaking about Chris D'Antoine. Most of the people in that House are friends of mine. I don't agree with many of them on policy choices, but we're open to having a conversation. It's too important to stick to our legally binding commitments than just to say, oh, okay, it became inconvenient to have a home energy retrofit program that worked extremely well, so well that it was oversubscribed. It's really effective in reducing greenhouse gases, putting people to work in installing the insulation and the things that you do that save money and make sense and reduce carbon are abundant. It's still the low-hanging fruit. And we're trampling over the low-hanging fruit to chase pipe dreams of new technologies that are super expensive and take a very long time to produce nothing.
And there you go. Get some cups. Elizabeth May, quotable. Definitely quotable. So yes, the overall issue with Darlington is because it's new technology and it has not been proven yet and has not been deployed anywhere, that $2 billion that was announced could be thrown into a project that ultimately does not prove itself and therefore never generates even a kilowatt of green electricity. So why are we spending money on that rather than still going for the low-hanging fruit? So let's have that home retrofit program back again. Let's have those incentives to buy EVs, things that we know actually do reduce the amount of carbon, versus $2 billion for a project that may or may not prove itself. So that is her position there. Some comments in the chat, of course. But yes, that's always the thing with new technologies, right? We put money into them and some of them work and some of them don't. And when they work, well, we get great benefits from them. So you got to do some experimentation somewhere along the way. If the Darlington thing does work, not only do we have the energy, but as Prime Minister points out, we would be the first in the world to do that. So then we would also have some IP and patent and other stuff of that like that we could export that gives the project even more value for the economy. So they're the two sides of the debate. You can make an argument for both, and a pretty solid argument for either one. But the path that we have decided to go down, it seems to be, is to try to pursue small modular reactors as not only a green strategy, but also as an infrastructure project, also as a project that would use Canadian steel, aluminum, and all that type of stuff, but also as a project that would create additional exports, not only the electricity, probably isotopes as well, hopefully, but also, like I said, the intellectual property that goes around those types of nuclear reactors and installing them and operating them, running them, and all that type of stuff. So these are one of the things that you can only know in time. You try it and it either works and you're proven right and you're a genius, or you try it and you're proven wrong and you're a bum. So politically speaking, that is. Man. Okay. So that was Elizabeth May here. Let's see who else I have for you. I guess the last one, since we talked about the Bloc and whatnot, is the NDP. So we have Mr. Don Davies here. Now, the NDP is in an interesting situation. Sorry, before I do that, I'm so sorry, kids and cubs. The Green Party Elizabeth May leader mentioned that there were some positive things in the budget, and that we had to go to the news release to state that. So I definitely wanted to go there because one of the things about the Greens, as opposed to other parties, particularly the Conservatives, is that, Conservatives is just negative all the time. So here they like to look at certain things. So we'll go through the press release because there are more things in there that she didn't get to mention here. It says here, this budget is full of sacrifices for programs Canadians rely on: climate action and nature, and healthcare expansion, but not for billionaires, multinationals, and foreign-owned fossil fuel giants. Canada's legally binding climate commitment under the Paris Agreement is completely lost. So too the oil and gas cap is gone, as well as numerous climate-related programs, while oil and gas production is increased. The budget's, quote, productivity super deduction is an accelerated capital cost allowance explicitly intended to reduce Canada's marginal effective tax rate to be competitive with Mr. Trump's tax-cutting Big Beautiful Bill. Leveling the playing field by meeting the lowest international tax rates is a race to the bottom, never a winning strategy. A national electrical grid is a cornerstone for real decarbonization. The budget offers piecemeal tax deductions, but no federal strategy or leadership essential to bring the provincial players together. The Green Homes program has been abandoned because it was too popular. The new Build Canada Homes has no provisions for retrofits or of existing housing stock, and which is the most effective way to reduce emissions from the housing sector. Quote, this budget sacrifices $56 billion in public services, like a program that helped folks in my community retrofit their homes and save money on their energy costs, all while foreign-owned fossil fuel giants and billionaires continue to make off like bandits, said Mike Morris. Losers in the budget are nature, with no announced funding for meeting 30 by 30 commitments to protect Canada's nature, nothing for West Coast salmon rehabilitation, no mention of the Indigenous Guardians program, and cuts to overseas development assistance when the world's poor need it most. And the 30 by 30 commitments, if I'm not mistaken, were commitments, for example, to reserve 30% of land and water territory or whatnot as ecological preserves, if I remember correctly. Adaptation to climate change is mentioned only in a commitment to lease 4 new firefighting aircraft, a tiny contribution to what needs to be a major nationwide effort. A $484 million reduction in spending at Indigenous services is not aligned with true reconciliation. Losers are Canada's small business owners, representing 50% of GDP and providing 66% of private sector jobs. Small business is barely mentioned in this budget, overshadowed by projects of national significance. Quote, read major corporations. The backbone of the Canadian economy desperately needs a chiropractor, said Green small business critic Michael Holbrook. No funds to help Canadians who want to go electric, no cuts in tariffs that make solar more expensive for Canadians, nothing to enhance the disability benefits to raise people with disabilities out of poverty. The huge cuts in public services will cause years of pain. On the plus side, Greens welcome funding for the CBC, $1 billion for supportive housing, the continuation of funding for the school lunch program, continuation of expanded dental care, high-speed rail, and the Foreign Credentials Recognition Fund. The Building Canada Homes program commits, as Greens demanded, to a clear definition of affordability. The Youth Climate Corps could be transformational, but as a 2-year program at $40 million, it is at best a pilot project. The big winners are the multinationals, able to access the productivity super deduction, big foreign corporations like General Electric, Hitachi, and others lined up for billions in subsidies for unproven nuclear technology. Multinationals like Shell, Petronas, Mitsubishi, Kogas, and PetroChina, disguised by the name LNG Canada, and others are able to gain cabinet designation as projects of national significance. The bottom line for us as Greens is that without amendments achieved through negotiations over the next few days, we cannot support this budget, said leader Elizabeth May. So, pointing out some positives and other elements there in the budget that we hadn't had a chance to talk about, and that she is highlighting them there. All right, on to the NDP and Mr. Don Davies. They are in an interesting position because the first two parties were so quick off the mark to make it obvious that they would not support it. The Bloc Québécois, of course, having the most spectacular of flip-flops, because during the whole entire election campaign, they were making it very clear that they would give this government until the U.S. midterms to come up to some trade negotiation or whatnot with the United States. And somewhere along the way, the Bloc Québécois just decided, well, we don't believe that anymore. That part was never particularly well explained. Why it is that Yves-François Blanchet suddenly reversed himself on that. But this once again puts the NDP in the position of, and the NDP was trying to get away in the public eye from a reputation of being the party that supports the Liberals or caves or eats itself or contorts or enters into some contortions in order to find a way to support the Liberals. It just puts the ball back on their court again. Now, with regards to the NDP, there is some division within the ranks mentioned, and it seems to frequently fall along the same lines as the debate that led to Don Davies being chosen the leader, which did not make happy three of the seven members of the caucus who happen to all be racialized women. There might be abstentions coming from that front when it comes to this, which would be, how would I put it? To see some vote yes and some vote no would be different. That typically doesn't happen within a party, but you might have a couple of abstentions. But you might be looking at some people wanting to make their own mark in a certain way by taking a stand this time. So the door is open to that. Mr. Davies didn't have all that much to say in terms of his opening statement and was trying to keep answers rather short until I think the third or fourth question he was asked, and then he got into it a little bit. So let's take a little look at what it is that Mr. Davies had to say with regard to the budget.
First budget at the federal level in 18 months, and I want to contextualize it a little bit. Canadians are facing serious economic pressures from coast to coast to coast. We have skyrocketing prices in groceries and rent, and housing as an ownership proposition is simply out of the question for too many people. We have unemployment at 10-year highs, particularly hard for young people, where 1 in 6 young people is out of work, and many more than that are underemployed. Economic growth is weak, and of course we face serious problems from south of the border. So it is in that context that we're evaluating this budget today. I can tell you that New Democrats are going to take the time to study this budget. We're going to consult with stakeholders. We're going to talk to Canadians, particularly working Canadians, and review this budget to see if this budget passes our lens of whether it works for working Canadians. So I'll happy to take any questions you may have.
Is this an austerity budget?
It's hard to tell at this point. What I'll say is it's got a very large deficit. Spending is up in many ways. There are, some record investments, but it also is, cutting public services that Canadians need. So this is something that we'll be taking a very close look at.
It's still early, but whipping your caucus on a vote, or will this be a free vote?
Traditionally on confidence measures, parties vote along party lines. So that's the tradition of our party. I wouldn't expect it to be any different.
I know it's still early, but was there any red line there in the budget so far that you've seen that it disqualifies you? Like, I know it's still early stages, but it seems like you're saying we need time to digest it, so there isn't an immediate red line that you said that would disqualify you guys from supporting it.
That's an excellent question, and one of the reasons I opened up with the serious problems we're facing is that there's complex issues that are facing us, and I don't think that we can oversimplify whether policies are going to respond or not. So I'll tell you a few things that we like about the budget. There's $51 billion in infrastructure spending, and that's linked to unionized jobs or community benefit agreements, which requires that work to be done through wage prevailing rates. So that could create good family-sustaining jobs, which has been a priority for the NDP. We talked about, campaigned on, an east-west clean electricity grid. That's mentioned on page 1 of the budget. And there's a specific mention of co-op housing, something that is near and dear to New Democrat hearts and something that we push for all the time. Some of you, none of you look old enough, but the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation was our predecessor, so co-ops are built into the DNA of the NDP. That's in there. On the negative side, you have 40,000 public sector job cuts. And when you have a jobs crisis, cutting union, family-sustaining, good jobs is the opposite direction of where we want to go. And we have to remember behind every job is a service. Do Canadians really want to wait 6 months to get a passport? You want to wait 3 months to get a call back from CRA? Do seniors want to wait to get their old age security checks? These are the kind of real life consequences of cutting public sector workers there are. I would also point out that Mr. Carney promised Canadians during the election that he would cap the public sector, not cut it. Second, they canceled the unused housing tax, which was a measure to stop particularly foreign investors from buying housing in Canada and leaving them vacant. So by taxing it, it was driving those units into the housing supply, providing homes for people. Inexplicably, this government has removed that tax, meaning that we're going to go in the opposite direction and you'll see those housing units taken out of the housing supply. We think that's wrong as well. And there's no digital services tax. You know, this was a measure that the Liberals themselves invented 5 years ago, worked on. It would raise $1 billion a year in revenue, taxing the biggest U.S. tech companies in the world. We're talking Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, on profits over $20 million in Canada. Now, if you have a revenue problem in Canada and you have to cut public services, or you could tax the wealthiest people on the planet, NDP thinks that it would have been a wiser choice to tax those people. So you see there's positive and negatives in this budget, and we're going to take a comprehensive look and weigh it out in the aggregate over the next few days.
A lot less harsh than any.
All right. So let's take a little moment there to go into some of the things that he has said. So as you see, not coming to the mic going, oh my God, we can't support this, but trying to walk a more middle road. Okay, we've seen the budget. We're reading it. We would like some time to consider it. We want to go back and talk to our stakeholders, particularly from the labor movement, from industry, from workers, to see how this budget sits with them. And then we'll come back. You know, there are some things that we like in it. There are some things that we don't. And then he's asked right off the bat, is this an austerity budget? Because the NDP was out there on the record saying, like, this, if this is an austerity budget, we can't support it. Prime Minister Mark Carney at first was saying that there would be some austerity in this budget. They kind of backed away from using that word very quickly, talking just about sacrifices instead. But he's not willing to say, yes, this was an austerity budget. We can't vote for it, right? It's hard to say. We need to look at it more. Asked if the party would whip his caucus so that they would all vote in the same way. Not saying that he would, saying that it is not particularly traditional for for parties to have members that vote different ways on a budget. And he doesn't expect that it would be different here, but not saying that he would whip, pointing out that there doesn't seem to have been a red line there that stands out to you that says, nope, the Rubicon's been crossed. We can't help you. And then when he's talking about things that are good in the budget and other things and considerations, going to the things that irked us as we were trying to get back on our feet post-COVID, right? There was a lot of complaints about airports and times to take for security screenings and getting your passport and all those things. Do you want to go back to those days? Maybe we should not make those cuts. Right? But then there's also the Trump reality and things are changing. So he's trying to say that, it's the situation is tenuous, for lack of a better word, enough that making a quick, hard, and fast pronunciation on this would not be good. But you can see all the ways by not giving definite answers that he is opening the doors to creating a permission structure for there to maybe be some abstentions or something of the like, right? Says there is co-op housing and we do support that. There is, so he's in a tricky dance, right? Because the NDP just cannot, it's not going to help them, they believe, to look like they're the ones that gave the permission structure for this budget to go through. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. My personal belief is that Canadians wouldn't want to go into an election now. We just had one. We elected this person to a mandate. We are a fair play country. I doubt there's very few people in the country who are of good faith that turn around and said, oh, 6 months, time's up. You didn't get it done yet. Got to go try a new guy. I think Canadians are a little more realistic than that. So I don't think that the NDP would have much to lose on a PR basis. In terms of supporting the budget, even, but they would maybe on a partisan basis, who knows, but I don't think so in terms of an overall government population basis. But like was the case with the supply and confidence agreement, would they gain any public favor or support as a result of doing it? Probably not. Now, of course, my personal hypothesis is that the reason the NDP didn't get any boost with regard to the supply and confidence agreement is that they refused to lean into it. So, yeah, we did that. Yeah, we're collaborating with the Liberals. Yeah, you got pharmacare as a result of our collaboration. You're welcome. Right? They did we had to force Liberals to do it, and kicking and screaming. If it weren't for us, we did it alone. We made them do it. And nobody ever bought that. So they could have gone down the line of increased cooperation and what stability it provides and what benefits it provides for Canadians. And they are happy to be a proud partner because Canadians sent them the message with the minority parliament that they wanted parties to stop posturing and get down to the work of working together to make things better. And had they committed to that path all the way through, because who knows where they would have ended up. But they didn't. They tried to do the supply and confidence agreement while still practicing politics as business as usual, and it didn't work for them. And at one point, people just couldn't see them as a serious alternative. It goes on here, and in this next answer, you can see again Mr. Davies opening the door to create a permission structure here. So let me make sure that I've switched the screen so that you can see him and hear him. I remember this time Kits and Cubs like this.
Any of the other opposition parties, I gotta say, are you telegraphing you guys are going to vote for this budget or just be absent on budget vote day?
No, we're just more rational maybe than the other parties are. You know, we're not telegraphing anything. I'm a Jack Layton, New Democrat. We came to Parliament to make Parliament work. We want to be propositional, and we want to give this budget the serious once-over that it deserves. And we want to consult with Canadians. You know, so I think that's what a responsible opposition party does, and that's what we're doing.
You didn't answer my colleague's question earlier. Will you whip your caucus? Just not what's your expectation of how caucus will vote. Will you whip each member of your caucus and force them to vote the same way?
Well, I'm not going to anticipate what we're going to do. We're going to have a caucus meeting tomorrow morning, and we're going to be reviewing each of our critic areas, and we're going to have a very, very thorough discussion, and hopefully we arrive at a consensus. That's always what we try to do in caucus.
I have. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on here, Kits and Cubs. So let me attempt to reload that video. It froze. I got the spinning wheel, and then it just the window just shut off down. Actually, it's like, nope, lost. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm out. Bye-bye. So let's go back a few seconds there. And I apologize for that, because I have no idea how or why that happened. But clearly it did, because you all saw it.
And we're going to be reviewing each of our critic areas, and we're going to have a very, very thorough discussion, and hopefully we arrive at a consensus. That's always what we try to do in caucus. At the end of the day, we need to move as a united party. That's what you do on confidence measures. You don't vote at cross purposes. You know, you can't have people voting yes and no. Generally, I don't remember ever a free vote on a confidence measure in my 17 years on the Hill, but all options are on the table, I suppose.
Are you maintaining that abstention would be an option? It would be authorized for NDP MPs to abstain during that vote, or following the lines of the party would be to cast a vote?
Yeah, well, so the tradition in our party is that we caucus together and we vote as one unit on confidence measures. But it's also part of our tradition history that sometimes members, for various reasons, can't vote the way that the caucus wants. So instead of voting opposite of caucus, they are permitted, with Whip's approval, to abstain from the vote. So that's also a possibility.
Some of the polling out there is showing the NDP on the rise as the only clear voice for workers amidst a national climate of labor unrest. How are you feeling potentially heading into a Christmas election? Would you feel confident?
Well, I think our message is getting through. You know, New Democrats and I in particular, since I was appointed leader in May, have made it my #1 priority to reconnect with the working class in this country. And I've been dogged on that. We want to be the voice of working people. It's why our party was formed in 1961. By working people, for working people. That is our explicit raison d'etre. And I'm glad to see that message is getting through, and I think that trend will continue.
What do you make of the climate competitive strategy? Do you see it as a negative sign that the Carney government has yet to condemn Alberta for using the notwithstanding clause to force 51,000 striking teachers back to work?
Well, you know, we're the party of labor, and I don't like or support any government ordering legally striking workers back to work. And it's been I think a very, very discouraging and frankly inappropriate act by the Carney government Liberals to continue to force legally striking workers back to work when it's their constitutional right to strike. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I think Mr. Carney's acting to type. You know, they ordered postal workers back to work, rail workers back to work, port workers back to work, flight attendants back to work, who are legally on strike. So ordering teachers back to work, when the Conservative Premier of Alberta does it, it's wrong. When Mr. Carney does it, it's wrong. And I would say if Canadians want a government that respects workers' charter rights to strike, they should vote NDP.
Just at first glance, what did you make of the climate competitiveness strategy?
Okay, so there I just wanted to point out that in all the question and answer periods, Mr. Davies was the only one to get a question on something that was outside the scope of the budget there. You will notice in the previous answers, however, all the ways that he is creating the permission structure, again, asking when asked about it being voted and asked about abstentions, saying no abstentions if there's a reason that an MP needs to vote in a different manner than the party without having a yes or no split, could, with the permission of the whip, vote abstention. I was hoping for a follow-up question saying, have you, is your whip, not necessarily have you given permission to your whip, but is granting abstentions an option that your whip considers on the table in this case? To get, if you want to dig a little more and see about the willingness, because if the whip has to give permission, then let's ask about the whip's willingness or inclination to grant permission. It would seem to me to be a good follow-up question here. So let's see. Go back a couple of seconds here, just to make sure that we get the question. Oh, and of course, let me make sure that we go back to the screen. There we go.
Charter rights to strike, they should vote NDP.
Just at first glance, what did you make of the climate competitiveness strategy?
I haven't had a chance to really study it yet in any real detail, but that's something that we're interested in. We want to know what this budget's impact is on the climate crisis. I will note that Mr. Carney is not the Prime Minister who wrote values, I'll tell you. I mean, he was an enlightened capitalist in that book who claimed to understand the climate crisis, but ever since he's been elected Prime Minister, I've seen nothing but regressive moves on the climate, whether it's, he canceled the carbon tax, then he weakened the EV moratorium, then he started questioning whether our emissions targets were there. And I did notice one thing in the budget where they're eliminating the greenwashing provision in the Competition Act, which would have reversed the onus and made people who claim that their product or service is good for the environment have to prove that instead of the other way around, namely oil and gas companies who run ads saying that clean natural gas or that kind of thing. That's taken out in this budget, which is definitely a regressive anti-climate move.
Can you just explain very quickly how the party of unions, the Progressive Party, could in any scenario vote for a budget that includes 40,000 job cuts and nearly 60 billion in public spending cuts? Can you just explain how, in any scenario, you could support a budget that has those two things?
Well, that's way too broad of a question. That is obviously a very, very significant factor to us. I do note that those jobs are intended to be cut largely through attrition and retirement, 40,000 over 3 years. We think it's the wrong way to go, though. And that's a very important factor to us. On the other hand, the infrastructure spending, may create tens of thousands of unionized jobs as well. So we're going to have to balance these things out. We're going to have to study the budget. And, this is not an NDP budget. Okay? This is a Liberal budget. And this is what you get when you elect a Liberal government, is you get cuts to services and you get sacrifices that are to be made by working people, while the richest people in this country are left scot-free. And that's not an approach that we support.
You talk about being pragmatic. For you personally, how does this budget compare to your expectations going in? Did it exceed your expectations? Did it fall short?
It's too early to tell. I mean, I've come out of lockup an hour ago. It's funny, every time I say this budget's as thick as a phone book, I see half the people saying, what's a phone book? And I realize how old I am. But it really is a complex document with a lot of moving parts to it. So I haven't formed an expectation yet. That's something I want to do with our caucus tonight and tomorrow, and with Canadians in the days to follow, and we'll have an answer shortly.
We're hearing some Conservative MPs might join the Liberal caucus. Chris D'Entremont is one of them, possibly. What message does that send, and would it be appropriate as a way to try to get a majority for the Carney government?
Well, it sends a message that not all's well in the Conservative Party, I think. It shows that there are some cracks, I think, opening. I mean, I thought that Mr. Poilievre's comments a few weeks ago about calling the RCMP leadership despicable and actually inferring that his political opponents should be jailed were totally inappropriate, and frankly channeled Donald Trump, who has weaponized the judiciary and police forces of the United States against his political opponents. Totally inappropriate. So it doesn't surprise me that that has caused problems among some people in his caucus. And but I'll leave that to him to work out.
Are you worried for your caucus? And your MPs can maybe cross the floor?
I have nothing but the strongest admiration and faith for everyone in my caucus. So thanks very much, everyone. Thanks.
So there you go, Kits and Cubs. More from him in that last little section. I have to commend Mr. Davies, because he is walking a very tight line here. And how would I put it? And the ball has been unceremoniously placed in his court. He has a lot of things to juggle. And approaching this with, we're going to try to be a rational party, and we're going to try and do the opposition job as it was intended. Right? We need some time. We need to think it over. We need to be, we can't have a reflexive answer. We need to reflect on it. We need to talk to people. There's some stuff here that makes us nervous, but there seems to be a push to create some good union jobs. That's something we support. So there's a little bit from column A, there's a little bit of column B. We're going to have to look at it all and see on balance where it is that we stand. Maybe there will be the opportunity to vote abstention, but we're not going to say we're going to whip it now because, we haven't made a decision. He's it's slippery, yes, and not 100% not 100% firm, yes, but it is clear the rationalizations are not far-fetched. It's all very responsible and cogent. It's not satisfactory for people who want instant gratification and want an instant yes or no now and hard answer and like more conflict, all three parties said that they were not going to do it. What are you going to do now? Bum, bum, bum type thing, right? That media likes to do. So they're really taking, they're playing the hand that they were dealt the best that they can here. And you know what? It was a tough line to walk. and he walked it while seeming reasonable, not far-fetched, staying in line with a little bit what we know to be true of the NDP. And then, of course, the final question. And these ones about Chris d'Entremont, I consider these when I say that he was asked a question that had nothing to do with the budget. Everybody was asked about Chris d'Entremont thing. I could still consider that a budget-related question. In this case, even though it doesn't have to do with the content of the budget. But when he was asked about the Alberta Teachers Association, that was the only question that was asked of the other three opposition leaders that didn't have anything to do with what happened with the budget or Chris d'Entremont on budget day. So yeah, again, all three leaders from those opposition parties, you can see the contrast in style right away with the Conservatives. Now, we didn't show you Mr. Blanchet, but again, attitudinally, in his tone, in his pacing, and everything, very similar to the other two. Didn't stand out in any particular way in that sense. Wasn't trying to draw attention to himself. Wasn't trying to make a scene. Any of that type of stuff. So just their reasonings, what they were looking for, matter of factly, plainly, yes or no, why they can, why they can't. Any of that. Not like Melissa Lantsman in that sort of interview there. Trying to take control and suggesting that, like this, gee, I hope we're going to talk about something other than Chris d'Entremont, like we have some very serious stuff. None of that sort of posturing and stuff going on from them. So yeah, overall, solid responses within the various lenses that each of these parties bring, coherent with their lenses. Nothing outlandish, no big claims here, right? Nobody came to the mic saying, Mark Carney's trying to enrich himself with all these projects and all this spending. Look how much is going to go to Brookfield and stuff like that. They came at it as a serious exercise. So the leaders of the three opposition parties, not the official opposition, but the other ones, I have to commend them for having taken this relatively seriously and for bringing up points that we actually can discuss and that have some anchoring in an observable reality. Okay, kids and cubs. Speaking of Chris d'Entremont, well, why don't we hear from him? Since we're talking about him, as you know, kids and cubs, Chris d'Entremont is an MP from Acadianapolis in Nova Scotia, who announced a couple of hours prior to the budget being read, and it was carried in Politico, that he was considering moving to the Liberals, but wanted to see what was written in the budget first. So again, a bit of a responsible take to it. And it wasn't done in the sense that we didn't just announce that he had already become part of the Liberals. It was the first he was considering. Then I guess he saw the budget, and then there was some debate as to whether or not he had resigned or had been fired. It has been made clear since that he had resigned, and that was confirmed in the interview with Melissa Lantsman. Sort of like, so I wanted to be very clear. We didn't push him out. We didn't push him out. No. So she wanted that to be clear, that he left on his own. So, okay. And then we knew that he wasn't going to step down as an MP, which was good. But there wasn't any sort of like, I'm going to sit as an independent, but there also wasn't, I'm joining the Liberals. That was up in the air for a little bit. And then later on in the day, we found out that he was indeed going to cross to the Liberals. So in that sense, on the day of, there were three moments in the day where that issue got pulled focus from what the Conservative response was going to be on the budget. So in terms of getting maximum impact for destroying whatever it is that the Conservatives had planned to do on that day, he really nailed it. He issued a statement, and here it says, today the Liberal Party issued the following statement. Sorry, not he issued a statement from the Liberal Party. Today the Liberal Party issued the following statement from Chris d'Entremont. Sorry, I correct myself. It is, I had it right the first time. It is a statement from Chris d'Entremont, but as issued from the Liberal Party. So his first statement as a Liberal Party member here. Quote, earlier this afternoon, upon the presentation of the 2025 budget, I informed the leader of the opposition House leader, and the Speaker of the House of Commons that I had resigned from the Conservative caucus. After serious consideration and thoughtful conversations with constituents and my family, I came to a clear conclusion: there is a better path forward for our country and a better path forward for Acadie Annapolis. Prime Minister Mark Carney is offering that path with a new budget that hits the priorities I have heard most in my writing to build strong community infrastructure and grow a stronger economy. That is why I am joining the government caucus. After 5 years of serving in opposition, the people of Acadie Annapolis and all Canadians know that the moment we face today needs all of us to lead, not with complaint, but with confidence in a strong future. This is an important moment for the country to come together, and I'm looking forward to working with the Prime Minister to build the strong economic future that all our communities deserve. And with that, kits and cubs, let's look at a press availability from Trump, his first one since crossing the floor.
Making sure, yeah. Mr. D'Entremont, Mike Liquiteur with CTV News. I wanted to ask you, what was the deciding factor in crossing the floor? And if you could also indulge, how many other Conservatives in your caucus feel the same way that you do?
Well, let's start with the story of how I got here. I would think over the last number of months, I wasn't feeling that I was aligned with the ideals of what the leader of the opposition had been talking about. So I've been sort of re-looking at, what my career is bringing and what I can do for my constituency. So over the last little bit, talking to many of my friends in the Liberal Party, as Deputy Speaker, I got to know a lot of those members personally, ask questions, see what's going on, and understanding the point that we are in Canadian history, where it's time to actually try to lead a country, to try to make it better, and not try to knock it down, not to continue to be negative. In my case, as a Nova Scotian, we're always trying to find ways to work together to solve the issues that are important to our communities. And I didn't see it by sitting in the opposition. I saw it by being a part of the government caucus.
Prochaine question.
Sorry, and just in terms of how many other Conservatives feel the same way that you do that are currently sitting in caucus?
Yeah, I would suggest that there probably are those that are in the same boat, but I will let them tell their stories if that time comes.
Monsieur d'Entremont, Yasmine Midi avec Radio-Canada. Je vous pose une question très semblable, mais en français. Expliquez-nous ce qui a mené à votre décision. Pourquoi est-ce que vous n'étiez plus à l'aise au sein du Parti conservateur?
So basically the same question here in French, basically asking him to state why it is that he had left the Conservative Party of Canada. On that front, Kits and Cubs, he also had a letter of resignation stated, that was released, and very, very curt. Ottawa, November 4th, 2005. Mr. Poilievre, please accept this letter of resignation from the Conservative Party of Canada and the Conservative Caucus, effective immediately. Sincerely, Chris d'Entremont, MP, Acadie Annapolis. Yeah. No reason why anything of the sort given. Just I'm resigning. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So yeah, we have some conservatives throughout the entire sort of 24/7 rage machine who are not happy about this. One of them, Jeff Ballingall, I think the Canada Proud founder or something of the sort, uh, said this is not going to go over well in Nova Scotia. And it's like, girl, 10 of the 11 seats available in Nova Scotia went Liberal in the most recent federal election. The one that didn't go Liberal went to Chris D'Entremont. He won by 1.1% total votes to the Liberal candidate, over the Liberal candidate. I think Nova Scotians are going to be fine with this. And it's not like a mystery. It wasn't a mystery to anyone in Nova Scotia that Chris D'Entremont was more of a centrist conservative than a Polyev conservative. They knew who they were voting for. They voted a conservative in despite the fact he was on the conservative banner because they liked him, not the party. 10 of the 11 seats went Liberal, and the only one that didn't by 1.1% in the vote. Come on, conservatives. Don't come and try and start pretending now that the people of Nova Scotia are going to be up in arms and breaking out into hives as a result of this. You barely won the seat. Nova Scotia went almost 100% Liberal in the last election. I think they will be fine. All right. Let's go back to Chris D'Entremont and let's see what else he has to say.
Est-ce qu'il y en a plusieurs qui pensent prendre la même décision?
Okay, so here, also asked in French about your colleagues. Are there many others that are looking at taking the same decision? I'm going to guess here that he's going to say in French again something similar, that he knows of them, but is not going to be willing to tell their names, and that it would be up to them to reveal themselves at the proper time if they so choose.
Je pense qu'il y en a, mais je vais leur quitter l'opportunité de parler pour eux-mêmes.
Est-ce qu'on vous a promis un ministère?
No.
And then basically asked point blank, were you promised a cabinet position? And you can see, no. He just answers a straight no.
Next question, Nick.
Hi, Mr. D'Entremont, Nick Murray from Canadian Press. I know you just spoke of Mr. Poilievre and the direction he was going, but I'm just wondering whether the Conservative leadership style perhaps pushed you out of caucus.
Well, I think that's probably a part of it. I didn't find I was represented there. That my ideals of an Easterner, of a red Tory, I mean, quite honestly, of trying to find ways to find solutions and help your community rather than trying to oppose everything that's happening. And I think that's the opportunity that's being offered by Prime Minister Carney and the government caucus is to help find solutions at this critical time for Canada.
I'm also wondering if you can maybe contextualize the decision to leave with regards to what happened with your push and your bid to become the Speaker. Some MPs have told me that you looked dejected the day that you had to remove your name from the floor, and of course, another one of the Conservative colleagues ended up being Deputy Speaker. I'm just wondering if you could speak a little bit to that, about how that impacted this decision.
I mean, I think it was an awkward time. I was hopeful, as many people would be hopeful, but I did move on. The summer came, and we had a great summer of traveling around. It wasn't really in my mind. It's just looking at leadership styles and whether we're doing the right thing for Canada or we're doing the right thing for ourselves. I would rather be on the side of Canadians.
All right. Did you hear that, Kits and Cubs? The ending of that. So, first of all, those two questions were stirring the pot questions. That journalist was looking for something. Not sure if he got it, but in the fullness of the answer. But if he was paying attention, he certainly got it at the end of the answer when Chris D'Entremont said, I wanted to be on the side of Canadians. The inference, therefore, being that he does not think that the Conservative Party of Canada is on the side of Canadians. Were I a journalist, I would have jumped on that one. I said, "Oh, so you wanted to be on the side of the Canadians. So how is your former party not on the side of Canadians? Please regale us with tales." Inquiring minds want to know. So just a little dig right there at the end in that answer. That was really rather well placed. So I'm going to back it up a little bit so we can hear that again, how he finishes that as we go into the next question here, kids and cubs, because that was a tiny little T just subtly dropped at the end of an answer, and you have to be really paying attention to pick up on it.
Really in my mind, it's just looking at leadership styles and whether we're doing the right thing for Canada or we're doing the right thing for ourselves. I would rather be on the side of Canadians.
And just really quickly, I'm just wondering, did you think that there was a real risk the budget could fall with this government, and do you think that risk still exists?
I think the risk always exists. You still have to have your account correct. You need to make sure people show up for the vote and those kinds of things. I think it's important that we make that more sure. I mean, this is a budget for a generation. This has got some good stuff in it for communities like mine, and I want to see it pass.
Hey, Mr. D'Entremont, just I'm Marco Vigliotti from My Politics. Just a quick question: was there anything tangible, offered towards you by the Liberals, a promise of perhaps a position in cabinet down the line, anything along those lines to get you to cross the aisle?
No, really, it had to do with my riding itself. Acadianapolis is a big rural riding with lots of fishery and lots of agriculture and a military base. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for them, to make sure that they have the housing and the infrastructures that they need, and I felt this budget was one that was going to provide that.
Last question, Jillian.
Some of your former colleagues have already been reacting to this news. They've called you a coward, disingenuous, and disloyal. What's your message to your former colleagues?
Well, I think they should look at themselves and see if they're offering the right thing to Canadians, of trying to build for the world. I mean, we have a great opportunity here in Canada, and rather than knocking people down, we should try to find ways to work together, and that's what I've always tried to do in my career.
Ouch! Did you get that? Rather than knocking people down. Ouch. Ouch. Let's keep going.
Merci.
C'est vraiment, on a besoin de regarder à eux, de voir si on veut travailler ensemble pour bâtir un nouveau Canada, un Canada plus prospère, ou, comme on dit en anglais, knock down. On n'a pas la chance de faire les deux. On a besoin de faire un. Et moi, je pense que c'est pour le Canada.
Merci.
So I was not able to hear what the last question is, but by the answer, trying to infer what the question had to do with here was comparing both options, and he says you'll have to look to them to find out why it is that they're doing that. But if you have an option to knock down or to take another path, essentially I want to take another path here. So yeah, there you go. But as you heard in that final little bit there, the Conservatives, coward and a traitor and betrayal and all of that kind of stuff. And Conservatives have been losing their minds when it comes to this. It's really sad. And it's caused a situation where other Conservative MPs like Matt Genereux and Dominique Vien and well, the third one, I'll set them aside for a moment, have actually had to come out and actually make statements. I am not leaving. So things are going well. When MPs from your party have to come out and make declarative statements that they're not leaving. There was another one, Frank Caputo, that came in and said, I will never, 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 never cross the floor, which is a really stupid thing, because as an MP, you should always reserve the right to decide that it might be in the best interest of your constituents to be represented to do your work under another banner if you discover that your leader or your party is not living up to its commitments rather than signing a blood oath to your party in the manner that Frank Caputo seems to indicate. But then again, Mr. Caputo, you didn't have to announce that you would not be leaving or crossing the floor, because for a crossing of the floor to happen, another party has to first want you. I think I think we know with confidence that you will not be crossing the floor, sir. You didn't have to announce that. Ouch. Beaver got talons. About some conservatives losing their mind. And yeah, we're going over the 2 hours today, kids and cubs. We have some of the usual characters. So let's bring some out and let's look at some of this reaction and analyze how juvenile and silly it is. We have the famous Mario here. Unprecedented. It's very likely that Mark Carney will form a majority government. Rumors are that several more will cross the floor. Canadians did not vote for this. This is a betrayal to all Canadians. Oh my God, it's so terrible. Interesting part about that one is that Mario, who usually posts so smugly and confidently about how the Conservatives are inevitable, rumors are that several more will cross the floor, and it seems that Mario believes these rumors, or else why would he be writing this type of a panicked thing? Canadians did not vote for this, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what is it specifically that they did not vote for, Mario? Did they not vote for someone crossing the floor, as you claim, or did they not vote for the leader of a party who is so out of touch and self-centered and narcissistic that they are willing to make irresponsible comments about the RCMP and behave in other manners such that he would lose the confidence of some of his own members? What is it that we didn't vote for? Because I very distinctly remember Canadians not voting for Pierre in the first election. And somehow we still have him. You need to be a little more clear when you say Canadians didn't vote for this. You need to say what this is. In there. This is a betrayal to all Canadians. It's not a betrayal to all Canadians. It's not a betrayal to Canadians that voted Liberal or quite happy he came along, and it's certainly not a betrayal to every constituent in his riding, the over 40 something percent that voted Liberal last time around. And I'm sure that if it's a riding that the Conservatives won by 1.1%, and D'Entremont is known as being more progressive Conservative rather than a Polyev Conservative, that there's a lot of people who voted Conservative for him. Remember, Kits and Cubs. Then we have this other one, concerned Canadian, not particularly concerned and probably not even Canadian, but a traitor to his constituents and as a disgrace to a party that supported him. Really, a party that supported him, worked as deputy speaker, did a fantastic job, but because he didn't pass the PP purity test because he was a moderate conservative, was not put forward by his party to do a job he was doing well. D'Entremont is respected by MPs from all parties in a party that does not play well with others. Again, as we mentioned yesterday, ask Mr. Arreyes, or as I was reminded yesterday, ask about Karen Vecchio. Remember her? The lady who was chairing the Status of Women Committee for a long time that suddenly got pulled from it because she too supported someone that was not put up for leadership and is now in Parliament because she was basically run out of her party. She didn't even run in the last election. Or how about Caroline Meehan or Sabrina Maddow, who were looking to run for the Conservatives, but were eliminated because I guess their views on abortion were a little too liberal. for Pierre. There's a purity test, and the Conservative Party members who are not pure enough get punished. D'Entremont got punished. His name was not put up for Speaker because he didn't kiss Pierre's boots enough. And you got guy going, a disgrace to a party that supported him. Don't know what channel you were watching. Then we get jingles here. 2 months ago, Pierre Poilievre graciously hosted Chris D'Entremont for breakfast at his official residence, Stornoway. Yet this is how Chris repays him, joins the Liberals, betrays Conservatives across the country, and backstabs his constituents. Disgraceful. Okay, let's look at what's wrong with this tweet. Pierre invited Chris D'Entremont to Stornoway for a breakfast at a swanky establishment. And therefore, Chris needs to repay Pierre with unwavering fealty. For the cost of one breakfast, you too can buy a Conservative MP. That is not graciously hosting, that is establishing a quid pro quo. I've invited you to breakfast, therefore you must now do for me. You must repay me. It smacks a little bit of I bought you dinner, now you need to put out. When it comes to a MGTOW party, yeah, that tracks, doesn't it, as an attitude? Mr. Jingles. Yeah, not the flex you thought it was. And then when you consider that swanky breakfast in a swanky location, that Pierre invited D'Entremont to a breakfast for which D'Entremont should have signed his loyalty to Pierre away in blood, was a breakfast hosted at an establishment that is entirely funded by taxpayers, that would have been cooked by a chef that is funded by taxpayers, with food that would have been shopped for by a shopper that was funded by taxpayers, and the food would have been paid for by taxpayers. So I'm not sure what gracious thing Pierre did, because it literally cost him nothing. Jingles. But D'Entremont owed him. Yeah, not the deepest thinking. Not the deepest thinking going on in conservative circles here. And let's see, what is the last that we have here? Brian Brigitte. I maintain my strongly held belief that you should lose your seat if you join another party, and a by-election should be called. MP should be allowed to become independent, but nothing else. It's absurd. Yes, indeed. Oh my God, yes. Somebody crosses the floor, that must generate a by-election. Now, of course, the irony here is that we had an election and your leader didn't get his seat. So then we all had to make a $2 million donation so that he can get a do-over. And now for the last week and a half, conservatives have been talking about, oh my God, the Liberals are trying to provoke an election with another costly election with their very costly budget. And now that the budget has been tabled and Chris D'Entremont's crossed the floor, oh, we need to have another by-election. Let's spend another $2 million because we don't like the fact that he crossed it. We don't like the fact that he took away our conservative seat. Let me remind you, sir, that it is called the House of Commons, not the House of Parties. The seat belongs to the people, not the party. And the people chose Chris D'Entremont, candidate, to fill that seat, not the Conservative Party of Canada to fill that seat. And yes, I know that the way that our elections are organized is such that we all just look to the leaders, and we look at if we like the leader, then we vote the party color associated with the leader in our riding. And a lot of people don't take a look at their local MP. And whether or not they're a good constituency MP. I know a lot of people vote that way, but legally, on the ballot, you vote for the person. And an MP, as an MP, is allowed to determine somewhere along the way that his constituents' best interests could be served better in another way, sometimes under another banner. And the people get to vote on it again at the following election. If they approve of what it is that he did, then he will get reelected. And if they disapprove, he will not. A party cannot fire an MP. They can kick them out of caucus, they can kick them out of cabinet, but they can't take his seat away or her seat away. They either sit as an independent or they cross the floor. And if crossing the floor was a betrayal to the Canadians and a betrayal to Parliament, as Lisa MacLeod tried to present it to us, the rules of Parliament would not expressly allow for it to happen. It's not a betrayal. It's not treason. It's something that is allowed and provided for. Does it come with consequences? Yes. But all these people are behaving like it is their seat. And the thing is that this is always of convenience, right? Because back, I think it was in 2000, can't remember when it was. Was it 2018? I think it is. Leona Alislev crossed the floor from the Liberals to the Conservatives, and she was welcomed with open arms. She even was going to try to run for the leadership of the Conservative Party at some point as a result. And even better than that, let's go back to 2006 for those of us who have a longer memory. A certain Mr. David Emerson, who was a minister in the Liberal government, and then the Liberals lost to Stephen Harper. He ran as a Liberal. He was one of the ministers that were re-elected by members in his riding. And then, before he had even served 1 second in the House of Commons of his new term as a Liberal, it was announced that David Emerson had defected over to the Conservatives. Not only had he defected over the Conservatives, but was also given a cabinet position. In that moment, anything associated with the Conservative Party of Canada that keeps on trying to acquire or absorb the Tory legacy for itself, it's not entitled to it because it's an entirely different beast. But the Conservative Party of Canada is the one that shattered the norm. All the things that they're saying are betrayal. Chris D'Entremont at least served some time in the House as a Conservative MP in his new term before he left. And he didn't jump across the floor right into cabinet. Conservatives have no problem with floor crossing. In that case, a lot of people were trying to make the case, hey, we need to have a new election because we did vote for this guy under the Liberal banner and he didn't even give us 1 second of service as a Liberal in the House of Commons. You just took our voice away. And Conservatives had no problem with that now. But now it says, if people do that, they have to sit as an independent, or, if they're going to cross forward to another party, then they need to resign and run again. No. It's called crossing the floor. If you want an MP to resign and then run again under another banner and have another election, that's not crossing the floor. That's abandoning the floor completely, exiting the building, re-entering the building, and then hoping that you will gain access to the floor again. It's not what our parliamentary rules provide for. You may not like it, but it is not a betrayal. It is a legitimate decision. And that gets voted on at some point when the next election comes along. The constituents either stood for it or they didn't, but they vote for the person, not the party. Legally speaking, it's not your seat, Conservative. It is the people's seat, House of Commons, not House of Parties. Conservatives need to learn a little humility here. We won it. It's our seat. No. It's our seat. We lent it to you. You get to occupy it now. Until such time as we, or the person that we elected to represent our best interests, determine that our best interests are no longer best represented by being under your banner. That's the way it's always worked. Don't come crying now. You were perfectly happy with it when it bounced your way. Don't come crying now. We got nothing for you. Sorry. No sympathy. Not for me on that one. All right. So yeah. And then the interesting part here is that they are trashing this guy, right? And my thing when I'm watching them trash this guy is, how would you put it? Well, here, let me show you this clip here, kids and cubs. I thought there were going to be some commercials before it that had to do it, but no, there isn't. Let me show you this clip, kids and cubs. For those who are listening, you might want to adjust your volume because there is going to be some applause and stuff, and it might pop out relatively loud. So just giving you a pre-warning for that. But this is Chris D'Entremont as he was greeted when he was coming in to caucus for the first time with the Liberals.
MP Chris D'Entremont started the week as a Conservative, but he'll be ending it as a Liberal, and he may not be the only one. The Liberals now hold 170 seats out of 343. That's too short of a majority.
The momentum does seem to be right now with the Liberals, and certainly lots of pressure on the Conservatives in a way they didn't anticipate. So that was Chris D'Entremont's first Liberal caucus, and he was met by cheers and backslaps. But this morning he also...
So, met with cheers and backslaps. Conservatives are sharing stills from him walking to the caucus meeting to applause and hugs and whatnot, and trying to make that look bad. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, do you not realize that sharing images and video of Chris D'Entremont being more appreciated and accepted by those with whom he is now than he ever was when he was with you? Do you not think that doing that is kind of illustrating his point? Especially as you call him a coward and a traitor as you share those images. I see you sharing those images of him and calling them all names, and I'm thinking, fuck, no wonder he left you. It's not the flex you think it is. It's not the flex y'all think it is. Y'all need to calm down. Conservatives, come to the camera. Y'all need to take a look inward. A guy that is pretty much liked, universally respected, left your party, and you respond by having a full public meltdown, putting on display all the reasons why it is he left. making his case for him. Perhaps, counterproposal, since I like to be helpful, you might want to use this opportunity to take a little look inward. Now, I know introspection is not your thing, conservatives. I know it. I know it. I know I'm asking a lot of you. But maybe, just maybe, I want to take a little moment, look in the mirror, and see what it is you're giving off. Is there maybe an odor coming from your ranks? Is there a rank? Is there a little bit of rank coming from your ranks? You might want to ask yourself, is there anything that you could do better? Especially if you're as panicked as Mario is about other people maybe leaving. Is there anything that you could do better? Rather than just blaming it on the other guy. Everybody else is a coward and a traitor. You guys are all fine though, right? Because people normally run away from your party on budget day because everything is perfect with you, right? Maybe a little less pressing on that red meat outrage button and a little more internal work. Because Chris D'Entremont was basically saying, no, you're right. It's not me. It is you. Here. You have some work to do. You have some work to do, conservatives. You're not a long-term bet. And you're not a group of people with whom we'd like to attach ourselves for the long haul. Kind of high maintenance as well. Just saying. All right. Let's see what else we have for you today. Like I said, we're talking about rebukes, and there is a lot going on in the world here. So we have the opposition parties rebuking the budget a little bit. We have Chris D'Entremont rebuking his party. We have his former party members rebuking him. And, well, we had an election on the 3rd in the territory of Yukon. And it seems that in Yukon, well, there was a rebuke of the government of the day, kits and cups. And it would seem that the Yukon party, which is more of a conservative party, did win the election here. So according to Yukon News, because we like the Yukon News, good publication here, during this Yukon Party leader Curry Dixon thanks his team, including the volunteers, campaign managers, and door knockers, as well as his family who joined him on stage. Dixon said the results show Yukoners sought a change to address issues from housing to healthcare and infrastructure. We have stayed positive and we have stayed focused, he said. We focused on our team, on our vision, and Yukoners rewarded us for that. Following his speech, Dixon told reporters he's eager to get to work. So there you go. And let's see what else. Oh, this was a timeline thing, and it's going backwards here. So yes, it was around yes, CBC called the 2025 Yukon election win for Yukon Party, who are expected to form a majority government here. About a half hour before that, they were up in 13 of 21 electoral districts, some of them by a very safe margin, and the NDP had the lead in 7 ridings. So I'm going to guess here, because I haven't seen the full count here. I'm going to guess it ended 13 for the Yukon Party, 7 for the New Democrats, and either 1 for the Liberals or an independent, maybe a Green. But I will get to better results there. Here it says here, with the math favoring a Yukon Party majority government, NDP leader Kate White is making a concession speech that also promises an NDP voice in the legislature. She said during the concession speech, "What an incredible night. So tonight we made history across the territory, from Dawson to Watson Lake, Old Crow to Carcross to the heart of Whitehorse. More Yukoners than ever heard what we had to say. We saw growth in communities right across the Yukon, and we're sending incredible NDP voices into the assembly." Earlier in the evening, Premier and Yukon Liberal leader Mike Pemberton conceded, having finished 3rd in his attempt to secure the MLA seat for Whitehorse West. So the leader did not even secure his seat here. Quote, "We've seen nights like this before, but this party remains committed to the Yukon. This is a moment that we regroup, we listen more, and we rebuild." According to the unofficial count, the Liberals' only seat will be Vuntut Gwich'in, taken by Deborah Lee Retty with 52 votes. Next in the far north riding is Up next in the far north riding is NDP incumbent Annie Blake with 45 votes, and then Sandra Charlie of the Yukon Party with 35. So let's see what else that we have here with regard to that. Oh, interesting move here. Yukon's incoming premier may have campaigned on a message of change, but when it comes to the territory's voting system, Curry Dixon said he's happy to keep things just the way they are. That's despite the results of a plebiscite on Monday that saw a majority of voters say yes to electoral reform. The plebiscite held concurrently with the territorial election asked voters whether they favored changing from the current first-past-the-post system to one that uses ranked ballots. A little over half the territory's 35,966 registered electors cast a ballot in the plebiscite, and of those who voted, 56.1%, 10,186 people said yes to electoral reform, while 43.9% said no, according to unofficial results from Elections Yukon. And I think this may be the first time in Canadian history that a vote, plebiscite, or referendum on any form of electoral reform passed. And I will note that it was for ranked ballots, not proportional representation. Voters were most likely to support the change if they lived in Whitehorse. The plebiscite also saw a greater proportion of yes votes in ridings that also elected NDP MLAs on Monday. So we basically have the new premier saying that thank you for the mandate, and I heard that you voted in a plebiscite that is indeed non-binding, and as my first act as a premier, even though you have all told me collectively what it is that you'd like, I'm going to say no to you. So we're off to a great start in Yukon. Welcome to a conservative government. You tell them what you want, and they say, yeah, but we're going to go another way. But thanks. The rural riding of Mayo Techun saw the least support for electoral reform, while the Whitehorse ridings of Tekhini, Riverdale South, and Riverdale North, all NDP wins on Monday, saw the most proportionally. Floyd McCormick, a former clerk of the Yukon Legislative Assembly and a proponent of ranked voting, called the plebiscite result substantial. There hasn't been a whole lot of success across Canada when it comes to referendums or plebiscites regarding changing the voting system. So in that sense, yeah, it is a bit of an innovation. Still, he acknowledges that the plebiscite results are non-binding and the next government is not required to do anything as a result. He also points out that the Yukon Party has long been against changing the current system. Dixon, who said during the election campaign that his Yukon Party wouldn't act on the plebiscite result, confirmed on Tuesday morning that his position hasn't changed. I still think that the move to ranked ballots is the wrong one and that this whole exercise has been a waste of money. And the Yukon Party believes that principally, I'm guessing, because I guess they believe that if we had a ranked ballot, they would not be as many people's first or second choice as often as needed in order to be able to form government, because that's really the only reason to oppose it, isn't it? He said Monday's plebiscite results were something his government will, quote, have to consider and talk about, but he also wasn't afraid to be a wet blanket for anyone hoping for that particular sort of change. Quote, I think that the significant resources it would take to overhaul our electoral system would be better placed in either education, health, or any of the priorities that we have for moving forward. That, kids and cubs, is bullshit. Because when it comes to moving to ranked ballots, it doesn't take any significant resources to overhaul the election system at all. Because nothing changes, really. It's still the same ballot box. It's still the same ballot. It's just that people, rather than writing an X or a check mark, put a 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or whatever, a number in the boxes or in the circles. Takes a little longer to count, but that's it. There are no significant resources involved, and it's not an overhaul. It literally is writing numbers rather than an X or a check mark, and a slightly different way of counting. And particularly in the Yukon, that doesn't have a very, very high population, right? Third place candidate got 39 votes. Oh, gee, let's take those 39 votes out and redistribute them. That'll take us a whole 6 hours to count. Oh my God, the overtime. That's bullshit answer. McCormick, however, points out that more people voted yes in the plebiscite than voted for a Yukon Party candidate on Monday. He also argues that simply ignoring the plebiscite result goes against the conventions of how we run elections and how we approach electoral reform in Canada. Quote, for the party in power to just say, we're not going to do this when we've had a plebiscite vote in favor of it, that's running contrary to the way things are done in this country, McCormick said. He says it will now be up to advocates like himself to continue pushing for electoral reform in the hope that the new government might change its mind. Quote, it will be a challenge, he said. So that is definitely interesting decision here. According to the Canadian press, just to make sure that we get everyone, and we like the Canadian press because it's more straight up reporting than editorial. The Yukon's premier designate said he's ready to start implementing key promises from his election campaign, but stopped short of pledging electoral reform, even after residents voted in favor of changing to ranked ballot. Curry-Dixon made history Monday when his Yukon party picked up 14 of the 21 available ridings, meaning he'll become the first premier born in the territory. Quote, ultimately, it's an honor and a generational shift, and I'm certainly very proud to be the first Yukoner born in the territory to become the premier, he said in an interview Tuesday, noting that earlier premiers had generational roots in the territory, but were in power at a time when people had to leave the Yukon to give birth. So here, noticing that it is 14, so one up from the previous reports that I read at the time that they had been written. And kids and cubs, since we're talking about Mr. Curry-Dixon, let's take a look at Canada's newest premier. So this is the gentleman that is now the premier, or who is now the premier of Yukon Territory. All right, continuing on with the Canadian press report. Ultimately, yes, did I say that already? Yes, I did already. At 40 years old, Dixon is an experienced politician. When he was first elected in 2011, the then 26-year-old became the youngest Yukon cabinet minister ever. He did not seek re-election in 2016, but ran the party's campaign that year before being re-elected in 2021 after being named leader. The latest government represents a return to power for the Yukon Party that spent 9 years as the territory's official opposition. The Yukon Liberal Party, which had formed government after the 2021 election, was nearly wiped out in Monday's vote, winning just one of the 21 seats. The NDP doubled up from the previous election, going from 3 to 6. So it ended up 14, 6, and 1. Unofficial results released by Elections Yukon show that 10,186 of 18,130 voters cast a ballot in favor of changing the voting system from the current first-past-the-post system to ranked ballot. The territory has nearly 36,000 eligible voters. However, Elections Yukon said only 53% of eligible voters cast their ballot on Monday. The Yukon Party said in the lead-up to the election that it would not support a change in the voting system, but if Yukoners clearly indicate they wish to see a change, will respect their direction. That was it was a pretty clear indication of change here. The vote on the ranked ballot is non-binding, and Dixon said Tuesday that he thinks the process that led up to the plebiscite was flawed and the question that was asked wasn't well considered. I wish that they would have put the text of the question here in the article so that we could assess his assessment of the question. He said he thinks changing the way the territory votes is not the best use of limited resources right now, but that a final decision will be made by his new cabinet. Quote, but my view is that that's not something we should be prioritizing, and we should be focusing on issues that matter to Yukoners, he said. Well, Yukoners thought it mattered enough to express their opinion on it and vote. Just saying, if you think it's a matter that focuses, if you want to focus on matters that matter. Let me try that again. If you want to focus on issues that matter to Yukoners, and Yukoners showed up to vote for something and said they wanted it, it seems to me that it mattered. But maybe that's just me. A date for Dixon's swearing in has not been set yet. He said work needs to be done in the legislature to make room for 2 new MLAs after the number of ridings in the territory grew from 19 to 21. Quote, we're going to think carefully about whether and when we need to have a sitting before Christmas, or if that can be deferred until the new year. That's something we're thinking about right now. Dixon said his early priorities include a promised expansion of Whitehorse General Hospital and improvements to the territory's electrical infrastructure. He said Prime Minister Mark Carney's office has reached out since he won the election, but the two have yet to connect. The federal government's agenda, quote, can be very advantageous for Yukon in areas such as critical mineral development, nation-building projects, and the military and Arctic sovereignty, Dixon said. He has spoken in favor of a proposed plan to link the Yukon's power grid with BC, an idea which a feasibility study recently pegged at $4 billion in construction costs. Quote, I think if the federal government wants to pursue it, we are certainly interested in doing so as well. It doesn't, however, change what we need to do in the near medium term here in the Yukon with regards to the investments needed in our electricity generation infrastructure, he said. Our grid is aging, our generation capacity is not keeping up with demand, and there'll be some considerable investment needed in our grid and generation capacity to meet the demands of Yukoners. So there you go, kits and cubs, a little bit of news on what is going on up north. Always happy to share some news of the north with our kits and cubs here. All right, and one last little thing here, kits and cubs, before we go. There were elections south of us, and there were some, of course, everybody's talking about the mayor's race in New York. That was definitely a very big deal and got a lot of attention. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. But you know, there was more to it. There was more than just the mayor's race here going on. But there were some very good results for those who are not in the Trump sphere. And for those who would like to see the end of Trump, there is definitely some good news all around. For the mayor's race, I think it took only about 20 minutes for the decision desk to announce that the victory went to Mandami, I believe his name is. I want to make sure. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing that right, because sometimes you go to different places and it's not necessarily spelled as well. Yes, Mamdani. There we go. I wanted to make sure that I had it right. Yes, Mamdani got elected, and I believe he got elected with greater than 50% of the vote. So there was Mr. Cuomo, and then there was a third candidate that was there, and it was an outright victory for Mamdani. A lot of people losing their minds. Oh my God, you gave it to a communist terrorist. Those tweets probably won't age well. Then there were some races for the governorship in Virginia and in New Jersey, I believe. And both of those governorships went to the Democrats. And again, both of them relatively fast from the decision desk. But basically, in Virginia, the trifecta, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and governor, all of it seemed to have flipped. And that was a pretty big news here. Just going to look for, because I'm looking at a transcript here, because from a source that usually has more detail. But because it's coming from a transcript, there's lots of other stuff in there that I have to sift through to try to get to the data. It makes for a little bit of an odd reading here. With regard to Zoran Mamdani, who voted the New York mayoral election, by the time 91% of the votes had been counted late on Tuesday night, Mamdani, who stood as the candidate for the Democratic Party, had won more than 1 million votes in the mayoral race, compared with about 850,000 votes for Andrew Cuomo, standing in as an independent. Democrats also won gubernatorial races in New Jersey and Virginia on the same day, and California's allowed the state's Democratic lawmakers to redraw the congressional map. That's Proposition 50. If a lot of people heard about that, Donald Trump was asking Texas to gerrymander seats for the next election so that the Republicans can maintain their majority in the House because they already know they're so unpopular that they're probably going to lose it. And that prompted reactions from other states to do the same thing, to recapture those seats in their own to try to negate what Trump was doing. And Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, drew up a map, but unlike Trump, rather than impose it, put it to a vote in a plebiscite. And when the plebiscite came back, it seems that um, voters in California did decide that they liked the new map that would yield more Democrat seats. And so I'm going to guess that that is going to become law. And that's the map that will be used next time around. According to NBC's exit poll on Tuesday, 55% of voters in New Jersey, 56% of voters in Virginia, and 69% of voters in New York City, and 63% of voters in California said they disapproved of Trump. So that's the water in which everyone was bathing as it was going on. With 91% of the vote counted, 50.4% of the vote was going to Mamdani in New York, with 41.6 going to Cuomo, and who is running as an independent because the Republicans picked someone named Curtis Sliwa and had just 7.1% vote at the time. In the gubernatorial race for New Jersey, Democrat Mikey Sherrill was ahead with 56.2% of the vote share by the time 95% of the ballots had been counted. Republican Jack Ciattarelli had received 43.2%, and Sherrill would take over from outgoing Democratic Governor Phil Murphy. So that's a seat that would remain in Democratic hands. In Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger had won 57.5% of the vote share by the time 97% of the votes had been counted. Republican Earl Sears had received 42.3%. Virginia also elected Democrat Ghazala Hashimi as lieutenant governor and Democrat Jay Jones as attorney general. While some of the winning Democrats, including Mamdani, represented the party's more progressive wing, Virginia's race was won by Spanberger, a moderate. Then there were other votes. There were mayoral races in Cincinnati, Atlanta, Detroit, and Pittsburgh, as well as for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. In Cincinnati and Atlanta, Democratic incumbents Aftab Puraval and Andre Dickens won their races. In Detroit, Democrat Mary Sheffield won, becoming the first woman to lead the city. Democrat Cory O'Connor won the race for Pittsburgh mayor. Pennsylvania voters also voted to retain liberal Supreme Court Justices David Wecht, Christine Donahue, and Kevin Dougherty. And it seems that the Democrat margin on the Supreme Court increased by 1 overnight. And Pennsylvania, you have to know, is a very important state because it's one of those swing states, and it's a state where the Republicans like to gerrymander or try to gerrymander and do play fast and loose with electoral law. But the Supreme Court there is going to be predominantly Democratic for quite a while, and that is going to definitely put a pin in that balloon, pop, to not allow that to happen as much anymore. Great results. It seems to have been a complete sweep for Democrats throughout all of that. With regard to California, Californians voted on an amendment which will allow the Democratic-controlled state legislature, led by Governor Gavin Newsom, to implement new congressional district maps starting with the 2026 elections. A majority, 63.8% of voters, had voted in favor of the amendment by the time 71% of the votes had been counted. While California has been a reliably blue state, some districts in its rural Northeast have often flipped red. With the redistricting plan set out in Proposition 50, 5 of these districts can now turn back to blue in the upcoming House elections. And this was a sort of a proportional thing because Texas gerrymandered their map to try to swing 5 more seats to the Republican side. So California went ahead and did their gerrymander only such as to negate that with another 5, as opposed to trying to maximize what could happen in the state. The thing also with the move in Texas is that, according to a lot of analysts, is that move can backfire on them because they did their moves based on the last federal election in which a surprising number of people of Hispanic descent voted for Trump, and a lot of them now are extremely disappointed with what they got. So they may have created larger ridings that in the next election, basically what they call you can gerrymander or you can dumbmander, and it seems that they might have done a little dumbmandering and may have set themselves up to lose a good chunk of those 5 seats that they thought that they were going to win now, because they relied on those Latino voters to remain in their camp in the next election, but they didn't do anything for them. So, not they may have screwed themselves over with the gerrymandering thing. After the vote, Newsom told reporters, "We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness. And tonight, after poking the bear, this bear roared with an unprecedented turnout in a special election with extraordinary results." So there you have it. But kids and cubs, this good news does come with a little bit of a caution, because we know how sensitive the president is. After all, a single ad from Ontario with Ronald Reagan's words was enough to make him fall down and get so upset that he called off trade talks with Canada, a country with which, if you cannot reach a trade deal, you can't reach one with anyone, really. And, you know, threaten us with more tariffs. So, world community, Trump just got severely rebuked and very much embarrassed. So, I'm starting a pool. When do you think Mr. Trump is going to announce the next round of tariffs? And will we, his favorite punching bag, get them again? Trumpism lost in the elections. Get ready for more tariffs, Canada. IQ 47 might be in a bad mood this week. Oh, God. What a loser. Seriously. Anyway, kids and cubs, I have yammered on long enough today, but we had lots of news today about pushback. Mr. Grizzly had said that this would be the year of the pushback. Seems like we're getting it in the States, even here in Canada. I can't say I'm disappointed. I've been waiting for this. Hopefully, this new trend is our friend. But for now, that's the end of our show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please, 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 please tell your friends and family, tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it if you do. And especially when you include a little bit of yourself in there, saying why it is it resonated with you, or why it is that you were sharing it. That would be absolutely fantastic. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like for us to help you, because you know what? You might be a busy beaver or busy cub on the go, and you might not have time to watch the Daily Beaver Morning Show live with the DAMFAM. Well, have we got a deal for you? Thanks to the Ray Girl, who has sponsored our pod page. You can go to podpage.com/the truenortheagerbeaver and click on subscribe, or you can click that QR code. And when you go there, when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, it goes directly to your feed and waits for you to pick it up. It's so lightweight, and take us with you. Pop us in your ears. Go take on the day and remain informed. It's a win-win. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us, well, hey, we could use your help. One of the ways you could do that is to go to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. Boom, right there. That QR code that appeared will bring you there. I'll leave the pod page one up too there for a bit. I took it down a little too hastily. You can go there, kids and cubs, and click on our buttons. Smash with our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Give them a little tickle. It makes us happy when you do. And when we see our numbers go up, well, that also makes us happy. Plus, it helps us with the algorithm. So thanks for that. And if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, we do incur some costs to bring the show to you. And we would be very grateful for an enthusiastic expression of encouragement on your part for us to do more in the form of a tip. We shake it for tips, yeah, we shake it for tips. Get a little shoulder action in there. So there, if you would like more dancing, more beaver dancing, send money. You could do that to, let's put up the QR code that will bring you to our coffee page, first of all. There you go. And you can find the emergency hydration fund there. Coffee, ko-fi.com slash the true. No. That's wrong. Coffee, ko-fi.com slash eager beaver, all in one word. That is where you go to make a donation. And Kits and Cubs, if you are buying Canadian, then you go to truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. That's our email address. And you can do a direct bank transfer there. Keeps your transaction 100% Canadian. No U.S.A. tech bros get a cut of your money. And we get 100% of your donation, which means that your Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund donation buys even more hot chocolate than it would otherwise. Mm. And the moist beaver is a happy beaver, and a chocolate beaver who gets to maintain their levels is also a very happy beaver. So send money. Need hot chocolate in the cup. The winter's coming. I got to maintain the brown, people. I got to maintain the brown. This tan doesn't just happen. Guess that's what happens when you're 37% chocolate. But all joking aside, Kits and Cubs, we appreciate all of your support. It means the world to us, and we are grateful to have you, because without you, like I said, we'd just be two schmoes talking to a camera. So thank you for being a wonderful and lovely and often generous audience. We're very grateful for you. Kits and Cubs, because democracy is something that you do, hey, we have some petitions for you to sign. We have a House of Commons petition E-6821, which seeks Kits and Cubs to put some constraints on media ownership so that Canadian news, like the Daily Beaver Morning Show, could be made by Canadians, us, for Canadians, you. We're not excluding our American friends and friends from all around the world. We are very happy that you're here. But by Canadians, for Canadians, this in the best interests of Canadians. So if that's something that you support, and I guess you do by virtue of the fact that you support this show, well, House of Commons petitions E-68281 seeks to do that too. We are now at 5,300 signatures, so it is growing, and that's nice to see. Let's see if we can boost that up a little bit here, Kits and Cubs. So I'm going to put a link to that in the chat for you. Please put your signature on that. We are very, very grateful for all of your participation with that. And of course, we are also talking about, as always, House of Commons petition E-6689, if I remember correctly, is the name and number of it. And that one is to make it such that our politicians can suffer some type of sanction when they are not being honest with us, when they are deliberately practicing misinformation in order to get us to adhere to their causes. And we do not need that. So Kits and Cubs, if anybody in the DAMFAM has that one nearby, I'm having trouble having that one come out. Sometimes the House of Commons petition sites are down a little bit for updates. But if someone could put that one in the chat, I would be very grateful as well. All right. So that's because democracy is something that you do. Words of wisdom, Kits and Cubs. I'm going to see, if it's as lovely day where you are as it is here, the sun is brightly shining and it's a beautiful blue sky. I'm going to guess it might be a little crisp weather-wise, but that's perfect. I like that. Go out outside today and have some fun. Take a walk if there's still some fall colors to enjoy where it is that you are. Have a little moment with nature. If you have a garden and you're winding it down for the season and to prepare it for the next season. Just put your hands in the dirt a little bit, or go take a walk, breathe some fresh air, commune with nature in any way that you can, and that should be good for the soul, especially this week. All right, kits and cubs, that's all we have, right? Yeah. So I guess it could be a tough world out there. Please be kind to and gentle with yourself. At the count of 3, kits and cubs, may I please have you say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. On 1, 2, 3. Ooh, yes, 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 yes. Absolutely no rebukes here. Nothing, nothing but love and melodious requests. And therefore, as your queen, I live to serve. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, a little bit of news of Canadians who make us proud. Unfortunately, Canadian tennis star Gabriela Dabrowski's season might be over. They were playing at the ATP Tour Finals, and in the round robin portion to make the final playoff round, they lost their match today, putting them in a situation where they will not advance this time around. I think Gabrielle Dabrowski had won the WTA finals once in her career, but still an impressive year for her, considering that she was also dealing with breast cancer and didn't get to play the full season. Still maintained her top 10 ranking in the world as a doubles player, and along the way managed to win the U.S. Open Grand Slam doubles final for her second Grand Slam doubles, same gender doubles. She has 2 mixed doubles Grand Slam titles under her belt as well, but for her 4th career title. So a very, very good season overall, considering the challenges, and hopefully she will get to play a full season next year. And with her improved health and now a second Grand Slam win under her belt with her partner Aaron Routliffe, who has a Canadian connection but who plays for New Zealand. Her sister, Aaron Routliffe's sister, is a Paralympian for Team Canada, and I believe won a medal at the last Paralympics, Winter Paralympics. So definitely an athletic family for us here that makes us proud here in Canada. So, but yes, very understanding partner, obviously, because I'm sure she had aspirations for the year as well, and knowing that the year wasn't going to go as had expected. And they're a relatively new partnership, but she decided to stick with Gabriela Dabrowski, and when they both won the U.S. Open together, Gabriela Dabrowski made a very big point of letting Aaron Routliffe know how much she appreciated her for sticking by her side during this year, because a doubles partner can just turn around and say, well, you're out for the year, I'm going to have to find another partner for the year. But she stuck with her and played with other partners at times when she was having treatments and wasn't able to be on the court. That's the kind of person you want on your side, who will stick with you through thick and thin like that, especially at a moment where you're having a lot of success together, and that's going to be interrupted for a little bit. So congratulations to Gabriella Dabrowski, and props to our partner, Aaron Routliff. That's what teamwork is really about. It's a great example for all of us. And onward and upwards for a better year next year. All right. That's all I've got for you, kids and cubs. And with that, I am gone. I will see you tomorrow morning. Amour et bisous. Bye-bye.